welcome to the Final Gaze. I'm Toby.
I'm Harrison.
And I'm Richard.
And today we're going to be doing something a little bit different. This is going to be one of our Talking with the Final Gaze, where we discuss something that's not horror. So today we're going to be discussing the highly divisive Wonder Woman 1984. I've been waiting for this conversation. I know you guys have been waiting for this conversation.
Yep. I have been wanting to talk about this. I mean, we've casually talked about it just through Facebook Messenger and stuff. And, there were times that I would talk about it with other friends, but they didn't really have, the knowledge we have. So it was just, you could never get across an idea that they didn't understand. So it's going to be great to finally go over all of this and just
hash it out, right? There's just so much to talk about.
Get a lot off my chest, so I'm glad we're doing this.
Well, I've been dying to talk about this since the night we saw it, when Harrison goes, we were standing outside of the movie theater late at night, trash talking it, and I said, we were talking about it, and he goes, Toby liked it. And so I've been dying since that night. So thank you for inviting me back to partake in this convo, because last week I was dying to come back for this episode.
Yes, I'm glad you're here too. Perfect timing. If you don't know yet, Richard is now our official third host. We hadn't been looking for a third, but he just popped in. And I'm really excited about it, so it's going to be great.
Yeah, I'm excited. Thank you, guys. I appreciate the opportunity.
Yeah. So I think we usually do at this point, when was the first time you saw one, or when's the first time you've seen this movie we're talking about? But it's a relatively new movie.
I saw it on Christmas Day.
Yeah. But I have an amusing story about that. Okay. I was really super excited about this movie. I was all like, oh, yeah, Wonder Woman. The only good DC movie so far in this new era of DC movies. I have to see this in the best ways possible. So Christmas Day comes along. I notice they're doing both IMAX screenings, where the screen expands to take advantage of the IMAX aspect ratio. And the next best thing is they're going to be screening it at Dolby Cinema. And I was like, okay, I'm going to do it. I bought tickets for 2 screenings that day. IMAX in the morning, Dolby Cinema at night. And when I first watched it in IMAX, and then honestly, I was low-key. Yeah, I was low-key thinking about canceling the second viewing, because I didn't want to watch it again. But a promise is a promise. And also, I wanted to do that thing that I usually do sometimes is, was it a fluke? Was I just not in the right mindset? Was it a mistake? Did I just watch it wrong? So I figured, okay, I'll go see it again. And no. Spoiler alert, I did not like it.
And that is very fair. That is very fair.
And the amusing part of this story is me and our new co-host, Richie, we went to go see it with his husband that evening at the Dolby Cinema. We went to the largest one in the Valley, which is over at AMC
Westgate,
where that shooting happened.
An hour away. We drove, Danny and I drove an hour out of our way.
That's your fault.
To see this movie, which we thought was going to be amazing, on Christmas evening with Harrison.
And the amusing part of the story is, the first thing that Richie asks me is, so is it good? And I just sat there and I'm all like, I didn't want to do what I do to you, Toby, where I talk a movie up. So I was like, yeah, you'll see. I just tried to play it off, keeping everything I could, just trying to keep the trash talk as minimum as possible. And then throughout the whole movie, I was so glad, because I sat next to Danny, Richard's husband, and on the moments I expected him to look at me, like a "did that just fucking happen" look, he looked at me all those times. So that is my amusing story of watching Wonder Woman twice in one day. And
I wish I had been there.
No, you don't.
I wish I had been there to to discuss with you afterwards. I remember, discussing the Joker for almost 2 hours after we saw it outside the theater. Like, so I do wish, I imagine our discussion would have been quite
Yeah, it was a good 30, 45 minutes out in the cold just talking about it. It was an interesting conversation. I almost lost my life, actually. There was like a fight in the lobby. They tackled the guy. Yeah. I was scared to death. I risked my life for this movie.
You didn't do any kind of running around, swinging on poles and stuff?
I did not. I ran back into the theater, and then Danny and Harrison look at me and go, "What? You didn't take footage on your cell phone?" And I'm like, "I'm not stupid." Like, no.
So apparently that happened, but I believe it because it's Westgate, and that place is, it's just its own entity, so to speak.
But just so
how
you know,
how many times have you seen it? Both of you.
Today is twice.
5 times.
So I do have a comment about that.
Okay.
I feel like, so you see a movie and you don't like it. Okay, so, and in your case, you've done that several times, like the last, Rise of Skywalker, yes. Right? It was several viewings with that, because the first time we were pissed when we saw it.
Yeah.
And I feel like, and it's the same for me, when you watch a movie that you already didn't like 5 times in a row, and you're already hating it, your hate just kind of grows with each watch. And I feel like sometimes you lose your objectivity to be able to like actually watch the movie. That's just
I have some. Well, so I'm opposite. So usually, especially if it's a movie that I really have been looking forward to, I am really bad about having high expectations for something that I absolutely love. I think Avengers Endgame was probably like the best example. I waited for that movie, and that was like I just could not wait. And that movie, like with many others, I got out of the theater and I liked it, but there was a part of me that was let down, and I couldn't tell if it was because I was let down because everything that I had hoped would happen didn't happen exactly the way I had envisioned it happening, so I had like set myself up for failure. I don't know. So oftentimes I usually go back a second or a third time, and I usually end up liking it better after I've given it, and then you pick up on things that you missed and things start to make more sense. This movie, not so much.
And I agree with watching it multiple times to like really make a decision. I just feel like if you already know you don't like it by the third time, but then you watch it 2 more times, you're not gonna like it. Like, even watching it this time, I'd say this is my 3rd time watching it. The length was so grating on me. Like, the negatives are really standing out because the movie was so fucking long. That's like the first thing I want to say. It's too long.
And I know how you are on just 80-minute movies sometimes. This was 150 minutes long.
I mean, I can watch Titanic and be fine. I love Titanic. I feel
that's Titanic.
Right. It is certain movies that are long I can handle, and this just adds to sort of the negativity that it doesn't need to be this long, and there are parts of it that are very boring because they just don't need to be there.
I would like to preface what I'm about to say with a little story, and I think I've told it before on this podcast, but Richie's definitely heard it, but just for our audience, I'll repeat it again. The Last Airbender. I watched that 7 times in theaters. 6 times I watched it. I hated it with a passion.
It's a shitty movie.
But you remember my stoner roommate at the time? We were so bored. We're like, do you want to go watch The Last Airbender? I'm like, sure. So we went, and for the 7th time, it was okay. I'm like, oh, I get it. Okay. And then I watched it and then I watched it an 8th time and it sucked. Yes, I have. I love the cartoon. And
Thank
The Last
God
Airbender.
Okay.
The Last Airbender is the absolute biggest piece of shit. But for this 7th viewing, for some reason, the stars were aligned, the planets aligned, a baby sneezed and a baby farted in one end of the corner, and it just culminated together at Tempe Marketplace. And for some reason, The Last Airbender was all right. Now, that was my preface.
And
This
that kind of
viewing
adds to one of my points, which...
But this viewing with Richie, I kind of liked it.
I liked it better. Yeah.
Wait, what are we talking about?
Wonder Woman
Wonder Woman 1984. It happened.
Like a smidgen more.
Okay.
A smidgen more than I could stand it from the first one.
And I hope I can say a couple things that maybe might add to that. Mm-hmm. And I'm not saying this is a good movie or a great movie or anything like that. Mm-hmm. But there's a couple of things I can defend, and I think that are some things that are hated. I don't think are fair because certain things are supposed to be that way. Mm-hmm. But that kind of puts into one of my theories is if your reaction to a movie sometimes can be greatly affected by how you watch it. And at that point, you watched it with a friend who was stoned, and maybe they were having a great time, and that kind of soaked into how you were feeling, and suddenly the movie is not that bad. That's just a theory.
I will say, at the start of the movie, I put it on like just the absolute loudest I like to watch movies, which is at the 60 level, whatever level 60 is on my receiver. But we realized that as the movie was going on, Richie and I were like screaming like, "This doesn't make any sense. It doesn't." And like, you know what? I'm going to turn it down. We're going to do a commentary of the whole movie. And maybe that's what made it enjoyable this time. We were shit talking this movie the whole time. Like anything we saw like wrong with it that we wanted to talk about, we just talked about it right then and there. So maybe that had something to do with it. But on the emotional parts, I get why they were emotional.
That's so funny because we'll talk about that.
We'll get into it.
But today, when I watched it today, and I was, we were cooking and cleaning in the kitchen, and I put it on because I wanted to make sure I watched it again.
Yeah.
And I'm watching it, and Brian's just like not. He thought it was a good, like he liked it, but he was doing his thing, and I'm watching it, and I'm talking out loud to myself, like, "What the fuck is this? This doesn't make any sense." Blah 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 blah. And I wish I had been there with you because I feel like
that was us.
I was talking to myself, but I could just imagine how much fun that would have been.
Just real quick, I will say that you're gonna be the deciding factor on this, Toby. We're the mom and dad, and you're the kid stuck in the center, depending on what your views are of Cheetah.
Oh, Cheetah, you're going to be the tiebreaker. But I feel like I'm going to be Sweden though between
Cheetah,
you two.
I have a lot to say about Cheetah, and Cheetah is I think the best thing in the movie. But there are major problems with her, but it has nothing to do with Kristen Wiig or her version of the character. It has to do with other things. But I really like Cheetah, so I guess that'll be an interesting part of the discussion.
Will be. Well, yeah, I see you have a
I got my notes.
Yep.
All right, so I know we're going to talk a whole lot of shit. Watching it this time again, like I can like pinpoint. I was like, this is what we're going to talk about. I know for sure Harrison's going to say it. But I would like to get some of the positives out of the way, if you have any positives, because I think our conversation with the negatives is going to be much longer. Mm-hmm. I do have a couple things I want to say positive, but I would like you to, if you guys have anything that you might have liked about the movie.
See if we guessed some of the positives. Because I will admit, like just for the listeners at home, Harris and I talked about it, and I said, I've only seen both of these films once. I saw Wonder Woman back during the summer, the original one. That was the first time I saw it. And then I saw this one, obviously, in Christmas. I would like to be impartial and give each film a second go-round, watch them back to back, because I know I loved the first one. And I think it's important to watch the first one again and compare it with the second to figure out like why there was such a drastic difference. So, I mean, I think we gave it a fair shot this time around. And I think we looked for positives.
So that will bring me, as a good segue into one of my points is when you watch both movies. So the first movie is so different than this movie. The first movie is a legit action drama, right? There's like a lot of emotion. It's a fish out of water story. In 84, it's flipped with, Steve being the fish out of water. But in the first one, you're really on Diana's side. Like, you're kind of with her on this journey. She's so innocent and, loving and has all this humanity in her that you can't help but like her. And then they also have, the drama of war. It takes place in World War One. The whole scene of her doing the walk across no man's land and things like that. Like, it's a great scene. It's super powerful. But this movie, and I'm not saying it was a good choice or it should have been the choice, but this movie was specifically made as an 80s superhero movie, which is not what the first movie was. The first movie was like a straightforward action superhero movie. This movie, and I read the article from the New York Times about Patty Jenkins, and she does mention, like Max Lord being, a classic 80s villain, right? And then I read
Trump.
Yes, Trump, exactly. And then I read Sci-Fi Wire came out with an article on January 2nd where they talk about sort of the 80s setting. And, quote, Patty Jenkins says, this should feel like a film from the 80s. This should be like going to a massive temple in the 80s that's completely authentic. So, if you were to watch Superman, and Superman 2 came out in the 80s, and watch this, they're complete companion pieces. Like, the obnoxious, corny, over-dramatic stuff that in this movie that just doesn't really fit with what was going on in the first movie fits completely with an 80s superhero movie. Like, I just finished the mall scene, right? It's corny as fuck.
Mm-hmm.
But if you were to watch a Superman 2 or 3 in the 80s, it's the exact same thing. And so I feel if that was their intention, at least for the first half of the movie, they do make a mistake later, but I don't feel like people, and it sounds so cliche to be like, oh, people didn't understand, but I think people wanted a straight up epic action movie, especially during the pandemic where everyone's stuck at home. I know a lot of people were looking forward to this, and it was supposed to come out in June. And what they got was not what they initially saw in the first movie. And so it might be, it was a bad choice. Obviously, it didn't work out. People didn't like it. But I think it was a purposeful choice. And a lot of the corniness and thin characters are so similar to what you would see in an 80s, any kind of action movie in the 80s. So, people don't give shit to Quentin Tarantino when he makes a movie that is right out of the 70s, right? The 60s, from when he used to watch movies. So I wonder why, Patty Jenkins making a movie from a time period she was well-versed in, when she was watching superhero movies, why it's kind of hated in that sense. No one got that she was trying to make a movie that if you were in 1984, it's called 84 for a reason. You would go see this movie. Would you hate it like people hate it today?
Well,
sorry for that mouthful. I just have all these.
Yeah. Is your question?
That's a fine point.
Is your question? Is it a positive that she was successful in getting an 80s vibe?
It's not a question.
Okay.
It's more of just a statement to as far as I feel like a lot of things people hate about the movie, the corniness. Like an example, Cheetah when she is wearing her high heels and she hops off from when the water spills and she hops on a chair, super corny. The Steve Trevor is Freaky Friday, classic body swapping scenario. Tons of movies in the 80s.
Mm-hmm.
I'm just wondering.
When Harry Met Sally.
Yes, I'm wondering if people understood that, if there would be as much hate. I guess that's the question.
Mm-hmm.
Would that change anything for you?
No, it wouldn't, unfortunately. Just because, and this comes hot off the heels of our review for Shadow in the Cloud. Where I say that this movie sets itself up in such a universe where outrageous things like her being blown back into the plane is just silly and ridiculous. This movie now exists in a universe that is all over the place. You have the very jarring, dark Man of Steel and Batman versus Superman, punctuated by now the silly Wonder Woman 1984 and super childish Shazam. And then somewhere in the middle is Aquaman, whatever the hell that is, sci-fi, fantasy, neon explosion, So Honestly, this just feels like hardcore experimentation. Like, okay, so the darkness didn't work. Marvel's formula for, happy, bright movies is working. Let's try that. Oh, they fucked that up with what Suicide Squad wasn't going to be. Oh God, I will say this much: this is not as bad as Suicide Squad. So yeah. No, but unfortunately it doesn't change my thoughts. I think if it was a 1984 version of whatever universe they were striving to go for, from Man of Steel and Batman vs. Superman, it might have been a little different. And I'll have to remember this point for when we talk about the score.
That's a really good point that you said about, this in the line of the other DC movies where super serious, super dark, and then you get 1984. That is just in your face, corny. The effects are not that great. I still feel like I do give some leeway to I love retro movies. Specifically, I love 70s and 80s movies. So I did get a lot of the things they threw in here, and maybe that had to do with why I liked certain things.
And I will say, if we're going for the directors intending to make this feel like a 70s movies, why did it work for Joker?
That's a good question. But also, I'd say Superman, the original, is held up as a classic, like one of the best superhero movies ever made, right? In that movie, Superman turns back time by flying around the Earth, reversing its whatever, and saves Lois Lane. Spoiler alerts if you didn't see the original Superman.
And then I automatically, my mind goes to, that had the advantage of being the first film in that DC universe. So
that's true.
We're looking at a world where that's possible. This is, however, 6-7 entries into the MCU, DCEU. So it's like,
bite your tongue.
What are we going for here? We're either it's like stay dark or
continuity.
Admit you were
right?
wrong. Yeah, continuity. Tone is what I'm going for.
So I guess what I was wanting to say is I don't, watching the movie separate from the rest of the DC movies, I'm okay with some of the corniness, but I agree that it was a bad choice. Like Wonder Woman, this wasn't the movie to make such a radical decision, such a change. Like, maybe 4 movies down the line and you have nothing else to do, but for a follow-up to a movie that was really good, like a lot of people think is the best DC movie.
It still is. For now.
I don't fault it for the corniness because I know that's what they went for, but I do think it was a bad decision. Yeah. And ultimately is why people don't
I agree with
movie.
Both of those points. I think they were successful in capturing an 80s film, like an 80s superhero film. I agree with that. So I would say it's a positive in the sense that their desire for the product was achieved. The product was not well received by the audience. That's the way I view it.
Mm-hmm.
And if this were the first movie ever in this new DCEU, fantastic. But it would be super weird because then we get like the super dark Man of Steel.
Martha. So, okay, I think we're kind of on the same page with that. Like, I'm not saying it's a great movie, but there's that part I forgive. And also, I love movies that are kind of like meant to be retro.
I really think, too, and I think this whole retro 80s nostalgia thing is coming to an end. So I think this movie has kind of... It's just like, it's kind of coming at the decline of that nostalgia feeling, Now we're getting into the 90s. So suddenly the 90s, there's going to be a whole slew of movies coming out in the next 5-10 years that are going to be like, oh my God, remember the 90s?
I miss the 90s.
Because we're all getting old. That's why everyone's remembering the 90s, because we're grasping onto our youth as hard as we can.
I will not deny that.
But it is true. Well, cool. That's like one of the bigger points I wanted to make. I'll defend some stuff with Cheetah, and specifically I'll just say a couple of things from the comics when we get to her. But other than that, that's really the biggest point I kind of wanted to make to why I accept certain things in the movie.
had some questions too when it comes to us talking about the comic books. So,
All right.
which, yeah.
So, I think it's that part of the show, our favorite part.
Yes, cue the music.
And now it's time for our favorite part of the podcast, Nerdy Film Score Talk.
So, usually we don't talk about trailer music, but we're going to make an exception here. So I believe Richie has a few things to say about the Blue Monday cover song.
Okay, so this goes back to having to see this frickin' trailer, I don't know for how many months straight, from June. So
Oh my God,
my
yeah.
husband and I, and Harrison would join us, we frequented AMC A-List. Like, we would go see movies like once a week. Harrison joined us many a time. Well, obviously, even before the pandemic, when all the theaters shut down, I mean, the trailers are released, months and months and months in advance. So I want to say, we probably started seeing this trailer in like late to 2019.
December?
2019. So there was I guess we hadn't even seen the first movie yet. I hadn't even seen the first movie because when the first Wonder Woman came out, my husband and I missed it. And it was one of those like, oh yeah, we'll have to rent that before the sequel comes out because we had heard, the sequel's coming out. And so I was already excited because I heard the sequel did amazing. I had pretty much, before Wonder Woman, boycotted the DC universe. I was like, I refused to put my money towards that ever again. And I was like, no, Wonder Woman was really great. You got to go see it, blah, 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 blah. And just never did. And so when the trailer came out, that music, I mean, it was just, I was like, oh, I'm into this. Like, I could hear the 80s vibe in it. But I also feel that the trailer music, I feel that that it was called Blue Monday, but I feel that it literally, for me, for the whole 2-minute some odd trailer, you could almost envision the entire film. At least I could. I'm a very visual, when I listen to music, I block things out in my head and I picture the action. I picture the sequences and okay, the beginning, the end. You could hear the villain. You can hear, Wonder Woman. You can hear the callback to the Wonder Woman theme. You could just hear everything in that trailer song. And I was jazzed. And I remember listening to the trailer on iTunes before I had ever even seen the first Wonder Woman. And I was already motivated to see the sequel. And so I don't know. I personally just loved that song. It's a great, upbeat, fast-moving song.
I downloaded it the day the trailer came out. I loved it too when I first heard that certain mix. I've always loved the song.
Yeah,
and it is now currently on my workout playlist. It never was until we started talking about it. So thank you. But yeah, no, I never got sick and tired of that trailer because I always knew that that beat was awesome. I did get sick and tired of the second trailer. And just how nowadays, I'm really fucking sick and tired of the No Time to Die trailer. Because now we know it's been delayed to however long now. So it's just stop playing it, please, for God's sake.
It was a long time to die.
Free Guy we have been stuck with for, the longest. That is, and I love Ryan Reynolds, but I'm sorry if I have to see another Free Guy. Because they haven't even changed the trailer. It literally is the same trailer since 2019.
I don't even want to think about that. It's almost not worth talking about.
But yeah, I feel like that song and that trailer just built the anticipation up for this movie because we had to listen to it so many times. I thought it was fitting. When you guys gave me the list of songs we were going to listen to, I'm like, okay, we have to talk about this one because I've heard it since 2019. So.
Wow. But all right. Oh,
Just really quick on that. I think that trailer was so good and that song was so good. Do you feel like maybe slightly misleading? The way it was cut made it feel like the movie was going to be a sharp, fast-paced, super fun action pop music, and it
for me, it gave the feeling of the original film. Especially after I saw the original film, I'm like, oh, this is what Wonder Woman's about. Like, it's yeah. I mean, so especially like after I'd seen it, and then after seeing the trailer, I was like, oh yeah, this sequel is going to be like phenomenal. So yeah, I definitely think it set expectations much higher and gave an incorrect expectation of what the film was actually going to truly be.
the trailer did exactly what it was supposed to do.
Good marketing.
Yep, it was beautiful. But we were lied to. You could say that the first trailer was a beautiful lie.
It was an irony. Yeah.
But all right. So the next track we're going to be talking about is going to be Themyscira. So when I first heard it all those months ago when it was supposed to come out in the fall of 2020, honestly, I was caught off guard by this track because, you know, you hear Hans Zimmer, he's coming to do Wonder Woman 1984, and Hans Zimmer is notorious for being very dark and broody. So I fully expected that from him. But the Wonder Woman theme, however, was unusually happy and full of hope.
You sent me that track when it came out.
Mm-hmm. And I was like, oh, okay. Interesting. I think, first of all, I thought it caught me off guard in a bad way. But then the more and more I listened to it, I'm like, okay, this is going to be a Wonder Woman that's full of hope. And if anybody needed hope, it was definitely the world. So I was, because the first few moments we get that really awesome electric cello sound from Tina Guo. But then it just switches from like a minor to a major, and suddenly it's like happy Wonder Woman, you know, like bum ba 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 ba. I'm like, okay, all right, okay. So I dug it. I realized now this wasn't going to be a dark and broody film. It was going to be as full of hope as the 80s probably was. Anybody else want to add? Yep.
I like the track. This kind of will melt into the other parts. It doesn't fit for me with the rest of the movie. That scene doesn't fit for me, and it sets a different expectations of what the movie ends up being. So that,
oh yeah,
I like the track, but it just doesn't fit with the rest of it. You know, especially with the other scores from Justice League and Batman v Superman. When you hear Wonder Woman's all of her, themes and stuff, it just doesn't fit.
And aside from the opening scene where we hear the very ominous, like I said before, electric cello, that very iconic, da 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 part with that.
Is that a cello?
Electric cello. But that is never really heard throughout the entire score except for that moment. So, but that's more of like the closing thoughts for the score, at least. But yeah, next track we're going to be talking about is one of Toby's favorites, Cheetah.
It is. It's my second favorite. It might be my first. I'm not sure. I really like this song. Of course, I like the character, so I just, I felt like it fit her. But that track, the whole track fits over one scene, and it's her jogging scene. So I'm not going to lie. I do go jogging every morning. The track comes on. Around like 30 seconds is when this part of the song kind of gets like this, I don't know, this cool beat, and it like just reminds me of, someone finding themselves. getting this energy or inspiration and stuff. So when I'm running, I kind of like hearing it, and then it delves into her villain theme, right? It starts out super hopeful and then delves into this more sinister, it's like I don't know what, it's some kind of trombone
it's definitely brass.
Some kind of brass. And I don't know, I felt like it was a good analogy for her character, who starts out super hopeful and kind of bubbly, and then it delves into, oh, you're going to kick this man to death, kind of sound.
See, because I really like that, because it literally kind of felt like, and it just gets smaller, it gets bigger, and then comes back in. It's almost like her character herself is kind of holding back all this actual power she has, know? And kind of, for me, that represents, how far over the edge Barbara's really going.
Do you guys like her theme, the cheetah theme, which is basically that?
Yeah, it's yes, I do like it. It of course reminds me about other Hans Zimmer scores, but what other Hans Zimmer score doesn't remind me of Hans Zimmer. But we'll talk about that with the White House. But
yes.
But yeah, no, I didn't mind it. She didn't actually have a theme. It was more of like a cue, which is what the sound. It's more of a sound than an actual like motif.
But I like that. I mean,
oh no, I like it.
To me, I think if a certain sound comes on every time the character appears, it's like a theme.
It's
But they only played it once, right? They only played it during that one scene. I don't remember it being played.
No, it comes back several times.
Did they?
It's scattered throughout.
Yeah.
Kind of like there's only one film I'm aware of recently that came out that does the whole sound effect versus an actual motif way better than it did for Cheetah. The Prowler from Spider-Verse, in Spider-Man Into the Spider-Verse. Yeah,
I'm not well versed in that one.
Oh, really? Well, yeah, no, they got this really just creepy ass like siren sound that is just like, ooh, it's very iconic.
When I watched it this time, I noticed there is a track that wasn't on the soundtrack, and it plays when Barbara is trying on like that super sexy dress for the first time.
Yeah.
And it's like her theme, but it's more of like a 80s
very jazzy.
Yeah, and I really liked it. It's not on the soundtrack though.
No. Oh well. Hopefully it'll be successful where we get like a deluxe edition later on.
Yeah, I did search as their extended edition, but no luck.
Well, all right. The next track we're going to be discussing is Open Road. And honestly, the only reason why I like this score is because this is the only time that Hans Zimmer pays homage to the theme he wrote for Wonder Woman for Batman vs. Superman. And it's no longer represented by the electric cello. It's all orchestral. And this, of course, I think goes back to Patty Jenkins wanting to harken back to the days of the 80s where if you weren't Vangelis or if you weren't, Tangerine Dream, you had to do traditional orchestral scores. Mm-hmm. And I will say that Hans Zimmer, people are kind of split 50-50 on the score as well. Because I've read a lot of people on some forums I'm a part of on Facebook saying, oh, this is Hans Zimmer's worst score. And then I got another 50% people saying that, oh, yeah, Hans Zimmer's returning to his more intricate orchestral, callbacks to like his scores for, At World's End, King Arthur, Lion King. I feel lately, especially his work on the Christopher Nolan films, he's been very kind of, just starting with a theme and then repeating it and then just kind of building layers on top of that. There was no it didn't feel like it was written for an orchestra. There was no more intricate moments in the score that, it wasn't very complicated. You know, a great example of that would be Dunkirk. You know, that's basically all synthesized and it's one beat repeated over and over again with
So
the
fucking
shepherd's
stressful.
tone. But for me, I felt Hans Zimmer was going back to his Lion King roots, you know, where it was more, it was busy. It wasn't simple. It wasn't, you know, just, okay, here's a beat. Let's put instruments on that. Repeat it. It was actual full symphony pieces. You know, we need a 108 piece orchestra and we're using every instrument here. So I felt this was his return to that. And it's definitely heard in this score because I'll tell you what, if it was a Christopher Nolan score, it would just be like a synthesized, beautiful mess. You know, for here, it is definitely busy. It's definitely everyone's actually doing something. It doesn't sound like it's just on repeat with certain beats. So that's why I like this score in general, and also just this track as well.
And this score does that thing that I love when I can listen to it separately from the movie and enjoy it. So I'll at least give it that. Yes, there are parts of it that I don't like. A lot of the emotional pieces of the music don't really get me. You know, it kind of seems very similar to a lot of other superhero movies where they have that try and get that emotional pull from you. Doesn't give me that, but I do get pumped at some tracks.
This is definitely one I get pumped from. Open Road. But yeah, so the next track we want to discuss is another of Toby's favorites, The White House.
And again, it's probably going to go, I love this scene. I think it's the best fight scene, action scene. It's like a fight argument. I love like the action with Wonder Woman and all that part, but I think it really comes into play when, of course, Cheetah shows up. You get her main theme, right? She just bursts in, and then I liked her action music a lot more than Wonder Woman's. When it came to her, it felt like it was way more chaotic, fast, violent, and sinister. In my opinion. And so when I hear that part come on, that kind of gets me pumped. The whole track is cool though. It's all one action scene basically. So I really liked it. I liked the arrangement.
Yeah, there was no like Wonder Woman theme moment like there usually is. One could say it could be an Open Road, but for me, the moment I was all like, oh shit's about to go down, is the moment when Cheetah arrives, or when Barbara arrives at the White House, and she pushes Wonder Woman away. So, cool. But I will say there is a moment in this track that reminded me of a previous Zimmer score, and that is for Dead Man's Chest. So at the 5-minute mark on the Wonder Woman score, tell me it doesn't sound like the Kraken theme.
I actually know that track. I'll have to go back and listen to it with that in mind.
Yeah, I have it specifically marked. Listen at the 5-minute mark for the White House track, and then go to the 3:17 mark on the Kraken. And for you guys, we'll play it for you right here. Here's Wonder Woman. And here is the Kraken.
Ooh.
Hans Zimmer recycling his music is not a thing unheard of, so. And the next track we'll be talking about is going to be Lord of Desire. Originally, I had wanted to talk about that one track. What was it, Beauty and What Is or whatever? But like you said earlier, the emotional punch of that track actually wasn't doing it for me. So I switched it to Lord of Desire. And it's only because we get into Hans Zimmer's, again, I think Hans Zimmer learned a lot about choral work with his score for the Da Vinci Code movies, specifically Angels and Demons. So his theme for the Lord of Desire is very chilling. And I just love that really awesome, staccato choir coming in, and that also reminds me of Pirates, but we're not going to go there for this track. But I just think it was really chilling. But okay, so
quick question: is that the track where Wonder Woman shows up to the headquarters at the very end and has that whole last battle as well? Okay.
Where she loses a battle to a breeze.
I said her kryptonite is wind. That's her kryptonite.
I love that wishes cause like the biggest hurricane in a room for some reason. I don't know. I can't wait to get there. Yeah.
Yes.
We're gonna get there.
I'm ready. I'm saving my energy right now. Listening to you guys about film.
I feel if I'm gonna be exerting any of my energy, actually all of my energy, it's gonna be on this next part here.
It's egregious. I know what you're going to talk about.
Yeah, to an average viewer, maybe you didn't notice, maybe you didn't know. I salute you. For me, an avid listener of film score music, I was pissed. So pissed that when it happened in the movie, me, a person who respects the cinema, took his phone out and immediately texted Toby. They fucking used music from Sunshine.
I was still watching the movie, and the second I heard the track first, I was like, they're not.
Exactly my thought.
This can't be. The second I heard, I was like, for sure. I turned to Brian, and I was like, Harrison's going to hate this. Harrison's going to be so pissed. And he was like, why? It's such a good score. And I was like, you just don't know. But Harrison... And then you texted me, and I was like, I told you.
Oh, my God. The moment, like, the strings, I'm like, okay, no, they're not going to do it. I'm like, oh, God, no. They're not going to go, like, duh. I'm like, no! I was so pissed. You have... Oh, okay. So this is the first time that John Murphy's cue from Sunshine was used in another movie. It was also heavily utilized along with 28 Days Later. I don't know why people just use his music for everything.
It's good.
Yeah, but both that and 28 Days Later was used in the movie Kick-Ass. Okay? See, so the thing is, it's a very beautiful track. I love it. But it instantly took me out of the movie the moment I heard that first piano note. Mm-hmm. You know exactly what note I'm talking about. I made reference to it to Richie. Yep. I was like, nope, I cannot believe they did that.
It sucks that the most emotional track, the one that actually kind of gave me an emotional reaction purely from the music, was a song not made for the movie. Mm-hmm. So it's an odd choice.
And I wanted to have that emotional reaction, but I couldn't. I couldn't after that. It was just... it was a crime for me.
Once I let go of the fact that it wasn't from the movie... I kind of liked it. I mean, I liked Diana learning how to fly. She doesn't fly in all the comics. I think there's only like one iteration of her that can fly before they rebooted her. I don't know. I thought it was cute. You know, she had just gone over an emotional whatever, some trauma. I just liked the quietness of her flying and that music in the background, but it takes me out. Like, I can't watch it and not think about,
You see, though,
Cillian Murphy.
Yeah,
Fine.
Cillian Murphy. That's what I thought about, and Hit Girl slaughtering people. With...
Chloe Grace Moretz haunting us forever.
And you see, I don't know. The flying scene wasn't a cute scene. What is a cute scene is when she turns the invisible jet invisible. This was a moment. The flying scene was a moment that needed a dramatic rendition of the
theme.
Wonder Woman theme.
Yes.
Agreed. And you know what? Again, not the average viewer won't be like, oh my God, that's Sunshine, because I talked to my coworkers about it. It's like the flying scene. It's like, yeah, that was such a great scene. I'm like, no, it wasn't. They used music from another movie. And I literally got that like, oh, well, it was still good. I'm like, you don't know.
I would like to speak on behalf of all average viewers, and I will admit, had no clue that song, where it was from, whatever. However, when you just said that it should have had a dramatic Wonder Woman version of the song, I pictured it, and I was like, yeah, that would have made that scene a million times better for me. So I will tell you on behalf of all average viewers, your assessment was pretty accurate.
And it's not like they didn't utilize themes from the first Wonder Woman, because Steve Trevor's theme comes back, and that was a Rupert Gregson-Williams track. That was just a track that was brought straight from the movie, but that makes sense because that is that character's theme. How.
Did they run out of time? Like, did he not come up with a good track? Like, why?
They had all the time in the world.
That's the perfect segue.
Yes.
That's the perfect segue into the second track. And I think we may be split on this one. And I can understand why you would think it would be okay. But let's just jump into that. The last track we want to reference is from the movie, but it wasn't written for the movie, much like Sunshine. We're, of course, referring to the track Beautiful Lie from the Batman vs. Superman score, still composed by Hans Zimmer and Junkie XL. I understand why it was used. There's a thematic resemblance to the title to what's happening in the movie. A beautiful lie versus a beautiful truth in what is, the beauty. You know what I mean? But it was just so weird to use Batman's dramatic theme from Batman vs. Superman. This track is basically Martha's theme. It played in the opening scene when she's murdered, and it played in the very controversial Martha scene at the end during the actual fight scene. So I just think it was a case of temp score laziness on Patty Jenkins' part. Just again, kind of like going back to the Sunshine moment when she's flying. Just imagine a much more emboldened, emotional rendition of the Wonder Woman theme. Just imagine. There we go. It's a culmination of things of the character. It's her accepting that, okay, the truth is better than the lie. And in this case, her lie was wanting Trevor back and, ghost raping him. So
yeah, we're going to talk about
we're going to talk about that. But again, that was another moment where I just gave up. I texted you. I didn't give a shit. I just texted you. They did it again. Beautiful lie. That's like using. Oh, I was just about to say something stupid. I was like, it's like using Batman's theme for Wonder Woman. That's exactly what they did. That is exactly what they did. And this wasn't like a Danny Elfman Justice League score where he used his original Batman theme and the John Williams Superman theme in his score for Justice League. This was literally just a temp score moment that could have easily been rescored by Hans Zimmer. However, I did read an article stating that I guess it was always the intention to use that. I don't believe it. I don't want to believe it. Both of those moments were moments that needed their own musical crutches. And I bet it was for average viewers, but for seasoned film score listeners like Toby and I, at least for me, it was a major distraction. And it took me out of the movie. So that's all I have to say about that.
And on that note, why don't we get into the meat and potatoes of this episode? So,
oh, yes.
I've broken it out. We stopped doing, going character by character in these movies, but I feel like because there's really only 4 main characters and it's easy to talk about everything that happens within those 4, we're going to talk about Wonder Woman herself, Cheetah, Max Lord, and Steve Trevor. And I feel like we can cover like pretty much everything in that, and then our closing thoughts. So I want to talk about Wonder Woman herself.
Okay.
I think she's the worst part of this movie. I don't think Gal Gadot is I think she can do physical stuff. I don't think she's a great actress. I don't think she can emote at all. Like when she's doing the I'll never love again. She doesn't have that. She just doesn't have it. She can't do that. But she can do the action. She can do the, oh, truth is truth. And if you just believe, blah, 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 blah. She worked in the first movie because she was a fish out of water, and her kind of stunted performance fit with someone who didn't understand what was happening in the world she was just brought to. But in this movie, where she has to lead everything and kind of guide Steve Trevor now, I just don't think she has the range that is needed to pull off these like emotional scenes.
Yeah, I agree. I don't think she was a worse thing, but she was definitely not the leading lady she should have been. You know, I can't say I've seen her really in anything else.
Fast and the Furious is the only thing I've seen her in.
I need to rewatch those because I swear I have never seen her in those movies. But
and
those
she doesn't
movies
act much different.
Danny would kill me, but I didn't even know she was in those movies. I mean, we've watched them, but I didn't know she was in them.
When did she first make an appearance?
I want to say 5.
I'll be looking that up right now.
Yeah, I want to say 5.
We were supposed to see how she was supposed to do in Death on the Nile, but who knows when the fuck that's coming out.
And I'm excited for that. But I also think that Gal Gadot thought she was in a different movie than what she was in.
It says she was in the first one, too.
No way.
No.
It says Fast and Furious 2009, Fast 5, Fast and Furious 6. So either Google
not 2009.
There's Fast and Furious, which is 4.
Oh, yeah. Okay, then 4, 5, and 6 then.
Oh, okay. Alrighty. I was like, she was not in the first one.
I don't know. Whatever the
she was.
That's funny.
She had to have either still been a soldier or a princess at that time.
My husband is filing divorce papers right now because this is like Star Wars and Fast and Furious is his Bible. So yeah,
I didn't even know she was in there.
I'm in trouble when I get home.
Yeah, I mean, what do you think, Richard, about her performance?
I disagree slightly. Is she a bad actress, or is she an amazing actress making horrific dialogue somewhat bearable in an absolutely terrible movie? I don't know. I have to go back to Fast and Furious clearly to see her act. I'm curious in Death in the Nile. I'd be curious to see what she would do with a movie that wasn't Wonder Woman. Is Wonder Woman the only part she can play? And maybe, I don't know. I honestly, she didn't bother me. There have been a lot of actors and actresses that I cannot stand. And I'll be honest with you, it was more or less what was coming out of her mouth, not so much the way in which she was saying it. And I don't know if it's her accent that I'm like mesmerized by. See, the dialogue's so much better for like Scarlett Johansson, right? For like Black Widow. I feel like her dialogue is so much better. So, I mean, if you gave her the same equivalent of like quality of dialogue, I don't know. I've never seen her in anything else, but I'll be honest with you. I didn't really find her a bad actress. I found everything else bad, and that, but to me, she was bearable. I didn't think she was terrible.
Yeah, I feel that maybe she was like I think Toby said, like she was acting like she was in a wholly different movie. I feel like she was still clinging on to like the seriousness of like the darker side of the DCEU, whereas obviously this is not the darkest DCEU movie, but also, and I'm not quite sure, it could just be a story thing too. Maybe it's not so much in the way she acts, but in the things that she does.
Yeah, I'll agree. As far as having shitty lines, like being a good actor but having shitty lines, that I don't know, because I feel like Max Lord and Cheetah, like Kristen Wiig, their lines are no better. But Pedro Pascal gives it his all. Like he is acting.
He is overacting.
And the things he's saying is but he's doing the 80s supervillain. Like that's the direction he was given. So I feel like he goes for it, right? Like he's acting. He's making a performance. It's like stage almost. Kristen Wiig, a lot of her lines are just, what does she do? The line like, people like you have everything and people like me have nothing. But when she said it, I was fine with it. Like I believed her. So I don't know. I mean, I do believe, I see what you're saying about the script kind of fucking everyone over. Like, is she a bad actress, or can she just not?
Was it a bad script?
Or is it a bad script?
Or is that just how she plays the character? I mean, here's the other thing too. Like, we might be calling her a bad actress, or like, that could you could be very well right? Like Death of the Nile, I could totally come back and be like, she's terrible. But I guess the other thing too is I felt like that was probably the only part that was consistent. For me, at least, was how she portrayed Wonder Woman in the first film to how she portrayed it in the second one. For me, that was the only thing consistent between the two films, was the way that she did her character. It wasn't like her character drastically changed. I mean, 60, 70 years had gone by. I don't
60.
feel like her character changed a lot. Like, it was just, so maybe that's just how she acts, or maybe to me, I took it as this is how Wonder Woman is. Like, this is her take on how this character, how this person thinks and acts and feels about things around her. That's the way I took it, as her portrayal of the character, but I could be wrong.
Yeah, and I'm thinking at some point in the very near future, because who knows how long DCEU movies have, there's going to be like a Daniel Radcliffe thing going on with her, where everyone knows Daniel Radcliffe as Harry Potter. And after his stint with Harry Potter was done, he did so many wacky, kooky, challenging roles that he successfully separated himself from the Harry Potter image. He proved himself a dramatic actor, a comedic actor. He wasn't just the British boy who lived, he wasn't just the wizard who lived. So I feel there has yet to be a project for Gal Gadot to prove herself dramatically. I don't think these really count, because these are such huge blockbusters that the over-dramatic parts are super epic. There's not that Blue Valentine raw, gritty, emotional movie that she has yet to do yet, which I feel is going to be happening soon. Kind of like how Anthony and Joe Russo are now kind of doing the smaller, like just this upcoming movie Cherry. We're gonna see Tom Holland in a role we have never seen him play. I just found out there's a masturbation scene, so that's gonna be interesting. But there's not that gritty indie movie that Gal Gadot has yet to, is going to do, I feel, inevitably. You've heard it here first.
Oh, sorry. Go ahead.
Oh, no, I'm just saying, you heard it here first.
Unlike Kristen Wiig, who has proven herself as a dramatic actress in several indie movies and is really good. And I don't know if, maybe I said it wrong, if Gal Gadot is a bad actress, I don't think she has the range to make me feel the pain she's supposed to feel with losing Trevor. She, for some reason, she's never got over him in 70 years, hasn't given anyone an opportunity to get close. That's obsession. And even Steve himself is like, that's insane. Like, live your life. But I just didn't, when she's like, again, I'll never love again, and she runs away, and it's supposed to be this huge emotional, she's torn away from her love. I didn't get it from her performance. It was like she was staring at a dot, and they told her to run, and nothing was happening on her face.
Yeah. First of all, 5-6 viewings, that's the first time I heard that line. I'll never love again. I'm like, oh my God, was that a line?
And then at the very end, she's eyeballing another guy. I'm like, well, so much for that.
Jesus. And
she's like, that's sex. That's 60 years of waiting for sex.
She didn't get laid in 60 years.
I mean, the guy she saw gave her good dick, right?
The ghosty, yeah.
The ghosty.
Because she definitely lost her virginity in Wonder Woman 1 in 1918. And you know damn well she did. Well, she did know culture-wise that men were not necessary for pleasure. So who knows? 80s dildo? I don't know.
There was like she made a comment or something that kind of insinuated the Amazonians like know sex and pleasure because they practice on each other. And there's books that like show them how to do it.
See what I mean? That's why Trevor would, find nothing worth reading in there, you know? It's all about female pleasure, not male pleasure. So this is how you scissor your fellow Amazonian.
Grody. Okay, let's move on.
No, they jump in midair.
And there's like a big shock wave when it happens.
My Lord.
And they're like, so totally cummed.
This is our lesbian corner of the final game.
1-star reviews from lesbians.
Which, by the way, what's the next character we're talking about?
We will get there, but I do want to ask a question. Okay. How do you feel about Wonder Woman's portrayal? You know, in the first one, she's a warrior. She has a shield and a sword, and she legit fights. In this one, she's so passive. Like, they make such a point to see her save everyone.
I'm so glad you're asking this.
Yeah.
Okay. I noticed it more this time around because it's so jarring to watch Wonder Woman 1 versus Wonder Woman 1984. First of all, she is the god killer.
She's a warrior princess.
She is a warrior princess who has the ability to kill gods. In 1984, she's stopping petty theft.
There's a lot of discrepancies, and I think, and we'll probably talk about this throughout the rest of the episode, but Harrison and I were picking up on so many different discrepancies between the first one and the second one. I think one of the big ones that Harrison called out that I didn't even catch initially was the age of her during her mother was having a conniption fit about her training to be, a warrior, and she was a teenager, but yet in the beginning of 2, she's a little girl training in these games that are for warriors. So, I mean, Harrison brought that up.
Because she's a child. Because she's a child when she's in those games, but when Hippolyta catches her trading with Antiope, she's clearly a teenager. Mm-hmm. So it's all like just like you can compete in these very dangerous battle games, but training with Antiope is, I don't know, the continuity just went out the window sometimes here and there.
Well, yeah, and I bring it up because I feel like same with the discrepancies between she's this warrior type character at the beginning and end of the first Wonder Woman, and then this one she's totally deflated through the whole film. I don't know. It bothered me.
Sorry, go ahead.
No, you're fine.
In Justice League, she's a warrior again, right? So what happens between 84, Justice League, and Batman v Superman, where in those movies she's like total badass, all about swords and shields and things. Yeah.
You see, I feel that this movie, Richard described it perfectly as, a sequel of missed opportunities. In this case, I would have totally bought that Diana went full on Luke Skywalker. In Rise of Skywalker, she knows she's powerful, but she refuses to help because she's still grieving over the loss of Trevor or whatnot, or something, So something happens in this movie that makes her come out to be the hero, because somewhere along the line I feel like this should have been like the slump, this should have been our Spider-Man 2 where Peter Parker loses his powers and he kind of comes back, but just, I don't know. It was just so weird. This should have been like a dark chapter if we're going with that whole classic trilogy kind of thing setup we're supposed to be, But God, it was so weird because it was like, yeah, Wonder Woman, female-led action movie. Here's our badass heroine. We have, Diana Prince is joining the epic lineup of strong female characters. We have this generation's Ripley, shit like that. But this sequel, it's like now it's like one step forward, 40 steps back, because now it's like, oh, now this she isn't the woman she is because of this man,
Total character regression, and that brings me, or I guess, back to Toby's original point in the beginning of the episode. Was all of that on purpose? Because obviously they do a lot to talk about like males treating females badly, like, the rape scene, and like they call that out a lot. So like, are they also purposefully like calling out like women not being as badass in the, like, was that on purpose? I don't know. Or was it just really bad writing, or was it purposefully like they were portraying her more as a female would be portrayed in the 80s? I don't know.
I think it's like a double-edged sword. On one end, she's willing to give up her powers for a man, right? So is that terrible, right? In order to be powerful, does she, not have to have that connection to anyone? But then again, does that mean a successful woman can't also have
powers,
her love?
Yeah.
It can't. Yeah, her powers, but also have a man. Her love, or something like that. So it's kind of like, in this movie, it didn't work. For me.
And let's face it, if Richie, if they were doing the whole, well, we want to do woman representation from the 80s, then she would have to contend with Linda Hamilton and Sigourney Weaver. I mean, if we're going for strong female leads, if we're just going for like females in the 80s and like a romantic comedy, okay, there we go. I think she was very successful in emulating that, but I have a feeling that's not what they were going for. Yeah.
I was trying to defend them as like that being a potential reason, but no, I agree. I mean, I think it's ridiculous because they made such a big deal in the first one about, woman, hear me roar, she doesn't need men, she doesn't this and that. And this whole movie is all about her needing a man to be happy, her needing a man to be happy. And so I'm just like, I was confused as to where they took her character.
Yeah, I agree. It is confusing. I don't like that. I don't like that she's willing to give up her powers, this ability to save people for this one man, right?
And I mean, I will say she didn't know when she made the wish, but she knew exactly what it was costing her as the movie progressed, because she was losing her powers. And even then, when they randomly go see that Mayan dude who's just in it for one scene,
has no purpose.
Purpose except for
I
that.
told Harrison, why couldn't Barbara just have found the book? Why did we have to pull in a whole extra? It made no sense.
And I have a point with that in a minute when we switch to different characters. But thanks for saying that, because that reminds me of something.
Yeah. So it's like, I honestly forgot what the point was. What was I saying?
Sorry.
I was like something about. Oh, that she agrees with Barbara, our villain, that no, she honestly, this probably was her mindset. It's like, what I did was wrong, but that ghost stick,
was good.
I should probably do what's right, but that ghost stick, it's like, what other reason is there for? Because on what they fuck on the last night they're alive, and they fuck on the first night he's back. So what else is on her mind?
Well, and I strongly feel, and I told Harrison this while we were watching it, I'm like, there are other ways to portray her sadness, her mourning, her missing him, other than her just being alone and miserable and not doing anything with her life. Like the whole scene with her out in front of the restaurant, like, is it just you tonight? Like, why couldn't they have her looking at a picture, kind of like how they did at the very end of the first Wonder Woman, when it was all about, you know, Bruce Wayne sending her that photo and she says, thanks for bringing him back to me and all this other stuff. To me, that's like mourning, but that doesn't make it like her life has no meaning without him, you know? And I feel like there could have been other ways for her to have portrayed her missing him and that being her true love that she lost, other than her looking like she's just a helpless female who has nothing to live for because the one man 60 years ago died that she was in love with, you know?
Yeah. And that waiter scene in the opening was unintentionally hilarious because they extend that scene for so long, and it's just such a blunt angle where you see her reaction to this guy just taking the plates and glass off and all the silverware, and he's all like, yes, I get it, I'm alone
and I'm beautiful. How would you guys feel if, like, instead of the man, like, I kind of like that she's sad, right? But what if she was sad because she can't tell anyone who she really is? She can't really have close friends or people in her life because she has this secret. So maybe that's her sadness, is she can't connect with people, and the last person she could was Steve.
Yeah. See, now two things here. Three things now. One, would that not have been the best part of the movie had it been written properly, where that is how Barbara and Diana connect, which makes their falling out way more intense than it was.
Yes.
And two, what this is going into theory, but I did read and confirm, but the Native American from the first movie is a god. Yeah, it was confirmed somewhere, but he is a Native American trickster god.
I was confused as well. And then Harrison told me right before he started having his dialogue, and then I was like, holy shit. Like, I mean, if you listen to his dialogue, like, every line is like, okay, that could be portrayed as a god.
Yeah. And also, I don't know if you noticed, but in Diana's apartment in this movie, 1984, that Native American is helping Jews escape Auschwitz. Hasn't aged a day.
Did you see the little cameo about, I forget her name in the first movie? Edda. Did you see that?
I noticed that the first time, and I was so sad because I realized that she is long gone.
So should we move on to the next character?
Yeah, let's move on. Well, who was the next character?
I was going to talk about Cheetah.
Oh, perfect. Let's do
okay?
it. Yeah.
So you had just mentioned, like, what if the turmoil was them being friends, right? Like, that's their connection, and something happens, and maybe they, like, the drama would be they're so close, and Diana finally found another friend, and something tears them apart, right? She has to fight her best friend.
Yeah.
Instead of pining over another guy. And there's a comic, actually. There's a version of Cheetah. Actually, Barbara is the third Cheetah in the comics. And the first one to actually have a physical transformation in the 80s. In the 80s comics, which I think is funny too, because in the 80s, Diana is first drawn as athletic and super warrior-like, which is weird. Like, why would you take that away from her in the movie that's in the 80s? But there's a plot line where Barbara, who is super smart in the comics, she's a genius, does a lot of amazing things. She is working with Diana. Diana first comes to America, and she can only speak Amazonian, and so Barbara can speak tons of languages because she's an archaeologist, gemologist, and all that stuff, and can translate for Diana and teaches her how to speak English, and they become best friends. And then Barbara gets sent off on a mission to, like, explore an island, archaeology and stuff, and Diana gives her a GPS from Bruce Wayne and says, I'll always protect you, like, I'll always be there if you call me, just press the button. Well, the villain messes with that GPS so that Diana never gets her signal, and Barbara ends up trapped on the island, forced into a ritual that turns her into the cheetah. And so when Diana finally gets to the island to save her, Barbara is pissed because she's like, you promised you would save me. And she comes out of the jungle, blood all over her face because she just ate a bunch of people. And her anger is just resentment that she was turned into something when she was told that she would be saved by her best friend. Comic book logic, but I feel like that's such a better...
Yeah.
That would have been a better film.
Yeah, exactly, like a better motive for both of them, and unfortunately they don't go there.
I'm just gonna say it. I said it all through our screening. There should have been a lesbian relationship.
At least I think they should have been closer. It should have focused on their friendship instead of Trevor,
Think about it, though. A lesbian relationship, of course, we're going with the logic that Amazonians please each other on Themyscira. But if we're talking about resentment, imagine that she does find love with Barbara in the 80s. Now it becomes a gay story in the 80s, so there's our connection there. But then also suddenly, she makes we're still following this, plot line with the wishes and all that. The wishes made that she wishes Steve Trevor was alive again. Now suddenly a man's thrown in the mix, and suddenly there's that divide.
That's good.
Then the line could have been, "I will never love another man again."
I don't know.
That's
I would
good.
cut that out.
I would cut.
Oh no, because then it would have been fit. It would have fit perfectly. Yeah. I'll never love another man again.
Because if I will say that I think, like you, Toby, the one thing I really love about this movie is Barbara's character. So.
And they at least keep the spirit of Barbara, because Barbara in all the comics has always been someone who's spurned. Like, she's always someone who's lacking something, like an emotional thing. People lie to her, trick her. So when she gets this power, of course, power hungry. So they do keep that. She's just never so meek in the comics. She was never like, oh, no one sees me and I'm going to drop my suitcase and no one's going to help me. She was never dowdy like that. She was always super smart. She was just always tricked by men or friends and things like that. Who she reminded me of in this movie? Michelle Pfeiffer. Michelle Pfeiffer's Catwoman. Yes.
Done
better.
It's a feline based, She didn't. Oh yeah, and much like how Catwoman was treated in Batman Returns, I don't think I would mind if Barbara remained human with cheetah powers, I guess. Or it wasn't even cheetah powers, it was Amazonian powers. Wonder Woman's strength.
She has the agility and speed of Wonder Woman. She can heal fast, and then her claws.
Yeah. So
is basically her power.
I feel that she didn't need to transform into a cheetah.
Yeah, and I think we all, at least Harrison and I, that was the part of the movie that was like, okay, it's gone south.
Yeah.
I agree. I feel like the last iteration of Kristen Wiig and Cheetah is horrible.
It's Cats the musical.
She looks
Cats
terrible.
Nightmare level.
Clearly they didn't learn from the movie that had just come out months prior. I'll be honest. Harrison had to talk me through. He had to talk me through it because I didn't dislike the character, and I don't dislike the actress. I felt the transition from good person, BFF Diana, to evil bad guy at the end was, at least in my first screening, I didn't get it at all. It made absolutely no sense. And Harrison had to handhold me through this movie to get me there, because he was so adamant that, oh no, I love this character, and no, see, it makes sense, blah, blah. And I was like, it doesn't make any sense. The transition of her being good and friends with her to all of a sudden disliking her. So what I will say is, with Harrison's hand-holding, he got me there. But personally, the fact that I wasn't able to get there on my own by watching the film, he had to talk me through, yeah, see right there, see, it makes sense now, why she turned so quickly. I felt so much time was wasted for stupid shit in this entire film, that the stuff that I wish they would have spent time on, as far as the development, especially with her character from beginning to end, I wish they had spent more time transitioning and developing her character into the bad person that she was at the end.
I agree with that.
She should have already been friends with Diana.
She's my favorite character, but I think she's the most disserviced character, right? again, if they hadn't had Trevor or even Max Lord, which we'll talk about, like they could have given her so much, and instead they give her the side plot, right? The side mission of the finding of the Mayan and where the rock came from and things like that. I get her turn, why she became evil, I guess. It's like, you know, someone who has nothing or is overlooked. Like, I feel like we've all had that feeling at some point in your life. Overlooked. You go to the club, no one looks at you, you feel judged, you know, all those different things, right? I've felt that. And then suddenly to have that popularity, like that feeling of finally, like, this is my time. And then the beautiful person who you've always been jealous of is going to take that away from you. So it's like, and then it took her humanity, I guess, is like what it took from her. So with that gone, that's why she was able to be so evil, I guess, at the end.
Mm-hmm. I'm going to tell you exactly what I told Richard when we were just talking to you the whole movie. Because I told her, you know, I think I like her because I relate more to her. And I compared it to the most blunt thing I could say, because Richie and I have discussed this. I said, you know, it's like how I always say sometimes when you always, you know, hook up with all these very beautiful guys, you know, and then compared to, well, my lack thereof, you know. So it's like trying to make someone understand that, you know, where it's like, but then the individual says stuff like, well, you know, it's just sex and that gets boring. I'm like, shut the hell up. You've had
because
sex
you
all
don't
the time.
have it,
You
right?
don't have it, you know.
Diana's like, my life's not that great. Like, you're not missing out.
And I'm like,
she's
shut up,
like
Diana.
A superstar. Yeah.
Yeah. So that's how I think I related to her that way, because I could feel that line of hers, you know, you've always had everything and I've had nothing. Not like I'm going to be the next supervillain here, but like I felt that. I felt that was the line that I connected with, which is probably why I felt her transition into villainy was a bit more organic. So like I understood what was at stake on her end. I understand why she wouldn't want to be giving that up so easily. So, but
she never killed anyone.
No.
Right?
And
she was just punching people and pushing them around. Like, she never tore people's faces with her claws or ate anyone.
And I think it was easy for me to still see how she could be redeemed. But this also goes into what you believe in regards to the behind the scenes. But I believe it was confirmed by Patty Jenkins that Warner Brothers forced her to include the giant CGI fight at the end, the cheetah fight at the end of the movie.
Yeah.
So what she had planned for her alternatively, I don't know.
Maybe build her up and she becomes the cheetah in the next movie, you know? Like, because Cheetah is Wonder Woman's #1 arch enemy in the comics. She's like Joker to Batman. So they could have built her up a bit more. Do you think, so, you know, Max Lord takes away his wish, so she turns back into a human, but she never renounced her initial wish, so that's their end, because they were talking about having her in the next one, which would take place in modern times, but she would look young and still have power because she actually never renounced her initial wish.
Because she technically got 2 wishes. So it's like,
and they point that out.
Yeah, she's like, I'm the one that grants the wishes, so you can wish whatever you want. I'm wondering if she feels she got fucked over. Like, she said she wants to be an apex predator. She didn't specifically say she wanted to be a cheetah.
That is a huge leap. Like, why a cheetah? Other than he saw her in leopard print.
Yeah.
Well,
like
even Harrison and I were talking about, because we were looking in her apartment. We were like, I mean, there were like cats occasionally around her office area, but there was no hint that she had some weird cat fetish. There was absolutely no hint that she had a cat fetish.
I mean, she liked Diana's high heels, and she did the whole like rrr animal print, but it's thin.
I don't. Yeah, that would not. That's not enough for me to be like. I hear apex predator. I'm like, I don't automatically go to like cheetah, you know. But now part of me is wondering, you know, I mean, I guess it's not so far-fetched in a universe where crocodile people and now shark people exist. So, whatever.
I don't think an audience will accept it though. I mean, I think as much as this movie bombed, I think that was the death of Kristen Wiig's character. I'll be honest. I'd be shocked if they brought her back because...
Oh, I think she's coming back.
She's
One,
coming
I'm pretty
back.
sure she had a contract for more than one movie.
Oh my god, yeah.
Two, she's not a hated character. Like a lot of the reviews I've read, she was not part of the problem that they had. Like they spotlight Pedro Pascal and Kristen Wiig because they know the movie they're in. Like they're chewing the scenery, and I don't think they do a bad job. It's just what they're given to do is shitty.
I just think it, as bad as this movie was received, that if now she returns in the third one and she still has her powers and there's some dialogue about, well, I never renounced my wit. Like, I mean, they're going to have to explain it. They can't just have her still have her powers. And I that's what I'm saying is I think that's going to confuse the audiences even more. I get what you're saying as far as like how they could do it, but I just don't think you can take audiences there. I think when they had her, if they had still had her in her getup at the very end, then I think you could get away with she didn't renounce her wish.
I mean, she
or whatever.
did. She had her leather jacket. The outfit she was wearing when she turned into Cheetah, like that was still there at the end when she was human again. Like she was still in her Cheetah White House outfit.
Then they should have shown her that she still had her powers, or you know what I mean, like an end credit scene. Because they had the mid credit scene. They could have done an end credit scene or something with her.
I agree.
Showing she still had her powers. I don't know. I don't know.
Like a Last Stand Magneto with the little chess piece.
Exactly.
Yeah.
Like then I'd be like, okay, you could take audiences there. But I
she
don't
does
know.
the whole rawr, and then the claws come out.
Yes, exactly.
I think if they start the third movie with her, I think that's setting the third movie up for failure, in my opinion.
And what's absolutely tragic is that in the long ago, I would say, you know what? I trust Patty Jenkins. She'll make the right decision. Now, I really don't know what the hell they're going to do for a third entry. And the fact that they greenlit it already is
fast-tracked.
Yeah, they fast-tracked this so fast. I'm just wondering what the hell they're going to do because I don't know where the hell it can go. Well, I mean, we got the whole Asteria thing, but like...
Linda Carter is not going to be a part of the next one. I can say that. But, I mean, even Patty Jenkins said, we can bring Cheetah back because of the wish. Like, so they're already saying that out, putting that out there.
Are they going to bring Steve Trevor back again?
Yeah, they are in the Flashpoint movie.
Oh,
because
okay.
the Flash is because the Flash can go through time and stuff, dimensions. He's going to end up going back and saving Trevor initially when he dies in the first movie. And that's how they're going to bring him back.
With a different actor, though, right? Because
It's going to be Steve.
No, Ezra Miller.
Chris Pine.
For Flash, and they fired him, and then
did they?
Yeah, because he got.
I thought they fired Ray Fisher.
They fired Ray Fisher. I don't think they fired Ezra Miller yet.
Is it because he choked that fan out?
He did some shitty stuff, but I don't think they fired him.
Was he racist or was he did stuff? I think
he choked.
He choked
a
fan.
Yeah. Apparently, that's not offensible enough. It's either rape or allegations.
True.
Or you just
Do you want to move on to Max Lord, which for some reason the entire movie is about? Really, instead of the good characters, they center on him.
Richard thought his son was Asian.
So did Brian. That's so funny. Brian said the same thing.
I was like, so he has a random Asian son, and Harrison's
like Filipino.
This is Harrison. He's actually Mexican. I mean, well, let's look at him again. Let's look at his face. And then Harrison starts Googling him and trying to find him to try to figure it out.
Just found out Pedro Pascal is Chilean. And it just made me think about Chilean sea bass.
From Jurassic Park. Terrible actor, the kid. Really?
Yeah.
I figured you guys would say that, yeah.
He's a piece of shit.
So I think his name should have either been Grogu or Steve. And if his name had been Steve during the song that they did, The Beautiful Lie or whatever, they could have done, Steve, why did you say Steve?
Oh my goodness. We don't need a Steve moment.
That would have been fun. I would have been funny. I would have at least laughed at that.
The guy clearly forgot he had a son. Oh, I mean, the obvious, allegory here. He's obviously Donald Trump.
Mm-hmm.
I hate that they made him Mexican, though.
Yeah.
Or Hispanic, Latin
Chilean,
in some way.
Yeah. Or
which
I don't
is
know.
like, the antithesis of Trump. The
Mhm.
wall. They even have the wall, right?
Oh yeah. The racism. You're like, I wish you Irish would go back to where you came from.
Yeah. The movie falls apart with Max Lord to me, and the whole third act, the wishes and everything.
I don't know what you guys are talking about, though, because all the critics said that this movie is the perfect escapism for like what's going on in our world. So
Yeah.
I don't know what you're talking about.
I don't know. I did escape, but then it had problems, and I didn't like the world, so I left. I escaped the escaped world.
I feel like the third act is the most damning for this movie. I was with it until right after the White House scene.
Yeah.
And they actually go to the main base, and then, she gets her gold that she had. Her gold armor she just had in her closet for some reason. And the wishes all over the world, like, again, it is very much like an 80s Superman movie. But then they tried to get you to feel emotion, right? So sad that these people are dying, and
they tried to get dramatic. It was so corny and campy through most of it, and then you get to the end, and now all of a sudden we're supposed to have the same drama that the first film had.
Yeah, compared to the first action sequence, which was the mall heist, then this sequence is like, were these sequences a part of the same movie?
The same writers, like how many people, attributed to this script? Was it just Patty Jenkins?
Oh no, there were two other writers, but majority of the writing was Patty Jenkins. But speaking of the character Maxwell Lord, or Maxwell De Lorenzo, whatever his actual name was.
Maxwell, yeah.
Yeah. I don't think Pedro Pascal gave a shit. I think he was having a lot of fun with the role.
So much fun.
He's all like, he's like, it's almost like he doesn't care if he is bad, because he's like, I'm the motherfucking Mandalorian. I'm fucking Oberyn Martell. So
yeah,
it's like,
I think he didn't give a fuck, like you said.
He went for it.
Was just going for it, right? He might not ever have a chance to be so big and obnoxious. And from doing, The Mandalorian, which is mostly voice work, and he has a helmet on the whole time, he can't really act,
The occasional, like, oh, Grogu, But yeah, no, I think there was, like, he didn't take it seriously, it felt. There were moments like you were like, okay, the drama part of it, but like 95% of it was just him being over the top and
just hamming it up.
Yeah, and the character thrives off of Pedro Pascal's charisma.
Yeah,
of which there is a lot.
There is.
Like when he gives me that life is better, but it can be. What is it?
Life
better?
Is good.
Life is
but
good.
It can be better.
Yeah. I was like, gooder. No, that's not the line. See, I have no charisma, so.
Did it bother you guys though? Because this is honestly one of my biggest things with the movie. I go to these superhero movies to see good fight evil. I don't go to these movies to see a good guy fight a kind of good guy who's just fallen by the, who's lost their way or misunderstood or like, I'm fine with someone who was kind of good and then turned evil, but I'm not okay with a person who is not really intending to be evil or do bad through the whole film and not realize I didn't know that I was being a bad guy. Like that to me is, he was not a villain. Same with Cheetah. I don't feel she was a villain. And so I feel like it was Wonder Woman fighting people who weren't so bad. They just made mistakes, and then there's no consequences at the end. How great is that? Like,
yeah,
what the hell? Like, I think that took the entertainment value out of it for me. And I was telling Harrison in the first film, what I loved about it was she was total good fighting ultimate evil. Those characters, the villains in the first one were actually evil. The god of war, and then you had
good.
Not the Nazis at the time, the Germans, but I don't know what their term was.
And Morrow.
There you go. But they were doing sick, sadistic stuff with gas, and then obviously like the God of War's like entire idea of like the humans need to just destroy themselves and all this other stuff. I just kind of help them along the way. All of that is really evil, and so to me, when you see her triumph over that, it's entertaining. Like, that's what I want to see. I want to see good fight evil and
Empowering.
win. And in this one, it was just like, I'm going to talk to these people, and I'm going to talk to Max Lord and just get him to find his way back again to being a good guy, being a daddy, you know? And what was the line that he said at the very end that I like wanted to vomit? When he goes,
you don't have to make a... Oh, go ahead.
Oh, no, I was going to say, I'm a pretty messed up loser guy, but I'm your father, or whatever it was. I mean, that was his line. I'm a pretty messed up loser guy.
Yeah. And it's the line after that was, you don't have to make a wish for me to love you because I'm your father. And I'm all like, ugh.
And the son was like, I don't have to be proud of you. And I'm just like,
you're my dad.
What kind of morality is
woogie,
this?
Woogie, woogie.
Yeah.
I don't have a problem with like a villain in the gray area. You know, to me some of the best villains are villains who don't believe they're doing something wrong, but they are.
Thanos, like Thanos.
Like Thanos, right? Some of those are the best villains, but him. And then you're supposed to feel bad that he was abused or something as a child, and they have all these like awful flashbacks of like he peed the bed, which is like too heavy, I think, for this kind of movie. And the dad,
again,
arguing
comparing
or something.
to the opening scene.
Exactly. Yeah. Exactly.
We're going from hopeful '80s rescuing the kid, tossing a kid into a fluffy stuffed animal, to a kid being berated.
And abused by his father.
Yeah. And physical domestic abuse, because he was slapping the shit out of the mother.
It was just such a turn, right? You know, you just had the cheesy cheetah fight where I thought she fucking killed her ass, and she didn't, I guess.
She should have died, she should have died. Like, the last thing we should have seen of her was her floating to the bottom. And then the actual end credit scene, you just see like a claw come out of the water.
Yes. Like,
boom!
I love the part where she was like, please renounce your wish, do it. And she was like, never.
The final gaze, here for hire, Warner Brothers, where he are here to make the ultimate fan movie.
I liked when Diana was like, then I'm so sorry. Like, I thought that was cool if she had actually fucking killed her.
Yeah.
And it's so funny that the only person Wonder Woman has ever actually killed purposefully is Max Lord. In the comics, she snaps his neck to stop him from killing Batman. Superman.
Not in the films, though, but in the comics. That's
in the comics, which
sounds familiar.
Yeah. So I think it's, why not do that, right? Like, why not? I don't know. They just took so much of the fight from Diana.
Well, and I was going to say, back on your Thanos analogy, even though he thought he was doing good, he was still ruthless, and there were consequences to his actions. Twice there were consequences. He lost his head the first one, and then he obviously was incinerated in the end of the second one. So I mean, there were still consequences. It wasn't like, oh, I'm so sorry, let me put the universe back together again. Like, there was none of that. So,
and also considering that Wonder Woman just straight up stabs people in the first movie. Yeah, she fucking penetrates Ludendorff with the sword. So it's like a neck-breaking scene probably would have been quite inner character movie-wise.
The wind stopped her, though.
Mm-hmm. The wind's, her kryptonite wind.
Mm-hmm. I will say that the Golden Age Wonder Woman comics, Diana does adhere to a code to not use lethal force, and it's only the modern comics that she is now violent and uses her sword and shield. A murderer. Like, she kills her enemies. She's an actual warrior. But for a long time, Diana did show her as trying to make sure she wasn't actually really hurting people. So, but for the movie, it's not what you want, and it doesn't work.
Yeah. I mean, I'm fine with Max being alive. I joked with Richard that the only reason why Cheetah survived is because, she's a cat, so they have 9 lives.
Yeah, there you go. There you go.
8 more to go. She's got at least 8 more lives for at least 5 more sequels. But
I'm telling you, she has a contract for more than one movie. She has
absolutely. But yeah, Maxwell Lord, he was fun. He was over the top. He was I don't know. I mean, he is actual villain to Wonder Woman in the comics, right?
Yeah.
Okay. So yeah, I guess, but I'm also with the crowd that says too many villains. Focus on one. It should have just been Cheetah.
Yes. Yeah. I highly agree with that.
Yeah. Because this whole wishing thing, I think, was only introduced because of Shazam. Like a lot of what happens in that movie seems to be directly related to mystic powers, which of course relates to the power of the gods. So this was obviously the god of desire or god of lies, or it was never really confirmed what god, but it was the god of lies or the god of desire, one of those.
I was wondering, like, instead of him starting to lose his health and things like that, like, Diana makes such a point to be like, oh, this was made by a god of so-and-so, and she acts like so scared, this is dangerous.
She fucking drops the ring.
She drops it, right? And then, when he wishes to be the stone, which is like, what the fuck? Why not have him, like, the stone does it because the deity, that god is in there, and maybe it possesses him, or he turns into some, like, rock crystal monster that she fights, right? A huge fight scene.
Like the witch, the witch from Suicide Squad.
Yeah, exactly. And, I don't know. I feel like that would have been a lot more fun.
I will say this.
In my opinion.
I will say this, though. I think I made mention, and actually showed Richard the entirety of this episode. The people I follow on YouTube, Red Letter Media, did make a point to say that they gave the ending of this movie credit because there wasn't no huge CGI monster battle. At least it was different in that sense. Not saying it was better, but there was no overly long Wonder Woman finale. There was no overly long Batman vs Superman cave troll fight. So, I mean, maybe it would have meshed better if it were that. I'm not saying we needed a big old monster fight, but we needed a fight that wasn't the cheetah fight.
Yeah, we needed more. And if you weren't going to give us more, the cheetah fight should have been more epic, right?
Yeah,
she should have been the last fight.
Yeah,
she should have stopped him, and then Barbara should have been angry about it. Yeah,
like there should have that fight needed more weight to it for us to care, because to me, it was just two CGI characters bashing one another. I felt
in
nothing.
the dark.
In the dark,
and you can't even see anything because
Yeah, they shot it in the dark, I guess.
Really quick, what you said about the it ending not with a huge fight scene, and that kind of makes it different. It almost like it reminds me, because Patty Jenkins has said multiple times that the TV show. I don't know if you ever watched. I've seen a lot of the original TV show with Linda Carter.
I've seen clips, but that's about it.
Yeah, that's about it too.
The movie is like an episode of the Linda Carter show, and I feel like that was a mistake to go that way. But Patty Jenkins said, like, the show was an inspiration. She wanted that feel, because it's basically the same story. Diana's in Washington. She helps Steve Trevor fight spies and things like that. And so it felt like a corny episode, and not having a huge fight at the end. A lot of the episodes ended like that. It was like a serial. You had to wait till the next one to fight, to find out who she's going to fight or something. Mm-hmm. So I wonder if that contributed to it.
Maybe. And if it was referencing the TV show from the era, then it should have done it in the way Mission Impossible did it, where it's more just fun nods, not a whole plot line.
Or the cameo at the end and calling it a day. I mean, the cameo at the end was enough for me to be like, oh, hey, the original Wonder Woman. See, I think that's enough for even people who've never seen the original TV show to like connect. Oh, I bet that's the original Wonder Woman from the 80s or whatever.
Oh, yeah. Our theater clapped both times.
Yeah. But I don't think they should have turned the whole movie into, So I agree. I think it was a mistake.
I don't like that mid-credit scene because it seems so slapped on, because they got a lot of shit for not having Linda Carter cameo in the first movie. I think they should have not had that mid-credit scene, and when she's talking about I forget the name she's supposed to be.
Asteria,
when she talks about her with the shield and everything, why not just show Linda Carter in that shield, maybe de-age her a bit? And that's the cameo, right? She has a powerful cameo, and that's it. Except at the end, it just seems so like...
Because it's right in the beginning where you see her statue come out of the water in the big games, and the random scene with the armor, which, by the way, that was a scene we were supposed to go and look back on, because we thought that the armor was in that the antique store that got robbed.
No.
I
thought
swear
it
I saw it.
She just had it.
No, I swear, if we go back, I swear to God, I saw it. Because I actually... here's a little secret. I got up to pee in the movie theater when they explained the whole golden armor thing, the first screening that we saw it on. But I swear to God, I saw it in the background of the jewelry store.
See, and I thought I did too. So we'll check it out.
Yeah.
Okay.
Yeah. So 2 of us are right, or 1 of us is wrong. 2 of us are right, or 1 of
It doesn't make sense either way. Honestly, it's just like.
But speaking of the armor, I'd like to bring that up. So does anyone find it weird that they made the armor this like mystical thing that she had to have? Like it's like a weapon of hers in her arsenal, like the most powerful thing she has in her Wonder Woman arsenal, and Cheetah is able to rip it apart within like 20 seconds, and then she literally like throws it off. I didn't understand even the purpose of it. It like, why didn't she just bring a shield and call it a day?
Yeah.
I don't. It served no purpose.
Right?
It served no purpose. Yeah.
I believe she would have flied more with that than just by herself. Because let's face it, she's not flying; she's falling with style.
She's she's gliding on the air or whatever.
It's
I
good.
agree.
It's good against Spartans, not against cats.
Apparently. I think it looked cool, right? It's cool in the promotional stuff. It's a cool action figure, right? It's a cool image, but it goes nowhere. It's so wasted.
It could have lasted longer. They could have had a whole fight scene on the mountain, and then Cheetah knocked her down the mountain, and maybe that's how it fell apart or broke. Or I mean, there could have been other ways, but her just clawing it and it just like disintegrating, I was like, it made no sense.
I will say that Cheetah has that power. Like, she is strong and can rip apart super mystical metals and stuff because she is now a demigod. So I'll give him that a little bit.
Did she wish to be a demigod, though?
She was turned into one by an evil ritual jungle person.
Yeah.
Which I think there should have been a jungle fight, right? She's a cheetah. It should have been
I thought
not
it was
hopping around
yeah.
wires and electrical towers. It should have been in the jungle, I think. Some kind of animal layer setting.
Yeah, like, the whole tearing apart the armor thing, it did bug me when I first watched it, but I think that just because, well, first of all, we really, really should have had the scene of Barbara transforming into Cheetah when all those wishes were being granted. You know, imagine
you see the start of it. You see the very beginning, but that's it.
She just walks off and like, okay, goodbye. And then suddenly, now she's a evil furry. So
I did like her eyes glowing in the darkness. I thought that was a cool silhouette, like image.
Mm-hmm. But aside from that, she's a cat lady now, I guess. That was it. I don't know.
It is hard to defend.
I don't know what she's capable of.
That last part, yeah.
Does she have the strength of the cheetah? Does she have the visage of a cheetah with the strength of an Amazonian, or is it, do those go away, and now she just has the strength of a cheetah? Which is she's got speed. Does she have strength? Well, I guess she did, but like, I don't know.
I mean, the cheetah character has all the powers that Diana has. Basically, she has agility, super strength, she can heal, and she's super fast. They always point that out. She's super fast.
So she has her cat treats and she can eat it too. Mm-hmm. Great. Okay, well, see, I didn't get that. I was like, okay, she's a cheetah now, so I thought she had cheetah power, so she'll hiss and claw at things,
jump around a bit, and then,
but okay.
You get her wet and she gets pissed off, right?
Yeah, that's when she really goes off the rails.
So I think the last person we can talk about, and there's really not a ton, but
are you
Steve
kidding
Trevor.
me? This is the most controversial character.
The one that should have never been in the film to begin with. They should have never brought him back.
So Steve Trevor, the character who should not have been in this movie, but Chris Pine is very charismatic, right? He's handsome. I think he's great, with what he's given, but I don't think he should have been in the movie.
I love Chris Pine, the actor. I loved Steve Trevor, the character. But I think I even read somewhere in one of the articles, it was like Patty Jenkins absolutely wanted him to come back, and okay, let's have him come back and then kill him off again, just like the first one. So now they have the exact same problem as they did at the end of the first one when they killed him off. He was just there, and literally his character took up all the time that should have been devoted to the character development for one of the two villains. You know,
both maybe. Cheetah for sure, I think.
Yeah, because I told Harrison, it's like, okay, so now we're going around a museum. Okay, now we're going around outside staring at trash cans and talking about the 80s. And okay, now she's raping a guy's body with the ghost and eating Pop-Tart. I'm just every scene, the clothing montage, where the fashion montage when he's going through all the different 80s clothes. They could have literally just used that as a joke for the trailer, because like Harrison brought up, it wasn't funny anymore because everyone had seen it 500 times during all the times the trailers had run. So it's like,
that is the coronavirus's fault.
Yeah, but still cut it out of the movie, cut it out of the movie. So,
yeah, let's talk about the elephant in the room. We know why. There's only one thing wrong with it. I mean, two things if you say he should be in the movie. But there's one major fucking thing wrong with this character. Why did this character have to possess another person?
Because Patty Jenkins wanted to do an 80s movie, and body swapping is a staple of cheesy, fun 80s movies.
There are things...
But it was bad.
Yes. Because that works with kid movies. Freaky Friday. There's not going to be a sex scene in Freaky Friday, okay? It works on a horror level. Freaky, again. This was downright creepy. And I will always remember that moment in the theater when they do that really cool 360 around the characters, and then it reveals that it's Steve Trevor. And everyone did this audible, like, what? Mm-hmm. What? Both screenings. And that is the scene in which Danny looked at me. And I'm all like, there it is.
Danny looked at Harrison for guidance. I was sitting there like, what? Like, I was so fucking confused. It made no sense to me. And then the whole time, I think we talked for like 5 minutes about like, did he just switch bodies? Like, what's going on?
And it's made even worse because couple reasons. One, first of all, this movie wasn't just Patty Jenkins and another person. This had to have gone through multiple channels. There's only like 3 people credited, and it's not just 3 people.
No way.
So it had to have been a committee. And you're telling me out of this whole committee, nobody said anything about this being creepy.
Because it's a woman, right?
Yeah.
If a woman's doing it, then it has to be noble and romantic.
And that's even made it even worse because it's Wonder Woman. Wonder Woman must be held to the standards of her character. She has to be the one of logic and reason.
She has honor, right?
Yeah, she has honor. She speaks she speaks the truth, But this one, she even acknowledges that,
I totally want to lay in bed with you all night, Trevor. Steve. But we should probably find out why my boyfriend came back in another man's body.
So she knows it's another man's body.
Yeah, she does, because that's who she saw at first. Mm-hmm. Was the other man,
So it's even worse. Okay, Patty, girl. You're telling me this Wishmaster can magically form giant walls in Egypt, but it can't form a human.
I mean, warheads created out of thin air.
Why can't she create a human? Are there rules?
Well, all of the wishes are taken so literally with everyone else. So why did Steve just not appear as himself like every other wish?
And that's something I said during the movie too. I'm like, okay, all right. Did she just wish for it weird? Did she say, I wish Steve Trevor was back? Should she have said, I wish Steve Trevor was alive in his own body? And then that would be it. But I would have bought Steve Trevor just coming back, just popping into existence. Mm-hmm. Not the whole weird possession thing. And maybe they really were going for creepy 80s vibes because, this made me feel the same way how I felt when I realized when the character of Bill Murray in Ghostbusters brought a tranquilizer to Sigourney Weaver's apartment. So it's like, okay, hey, if you're really trying to be the authentic the 80s, Patty, you can use that as an excuse as long as you want, but this was creepy.
Someone should have been doing coke if you really wanted to do 80s, right? Someone at that party that they go to.
Wonder Woman's just doing huge rips, like
huge fucking lines.
Yeah. I just want my man back. I wish I had Trevor back.
I really want him back. And she's like rubbing it on her gums and stuff.
Yep.
Better movie.
It is just, I wish, and it's so simple. Like, yeah, just make him appear. Why include this poor individual whose body is being kidnapped?
Yeah.
I mean, it doesn't seem like he remembers much except like the fashion, but it's so weird.
It's really weird and distracting. Like, I feel like you can't connect with his character because it's not really him, right? She's only seeing him.
It made me disconnect from Wonder Woman.
Yeah,
it really
I agree.
did.
Also, the Smithsonian has planes ready to go, like gassed up and everything.
Oh, that's not even the worst of it.
That easy to steal.
And that's not,
super easy to steal.
And that's not even the worst of it. A World War I pilot can pilot a quote-unquote modern-day plane. Well, it's just air and velocity. I'm like, no. No.
And that's the other part about this film that's really bad. And I think the plane leads into the other thing. Everything's just very convenient, right? Like, she's only ever made a coffee mug disappear or turn invisible, but I'm going to do this thing with my hand because my dad taught me this one thing one time, and now I'm going to just make this plane disappear right in the moment that we need it to, like
And she's never had those powers.
No. Even in the comics? Wow.
Yeah, she's never
in the
been able
TV
to
show,
do that.
An invisible jet is a thing. Not her turning it, but
yeah, she has an invisible plane. Too dumb to try and make it into a movie, I think. Like, it's just and in the show, like, you see her flying, right? Like, it's just her
She's
sitting
just
down. Yeah, because the plane's invisible. They didn't need it, right?
Yeah, no, I mean, okay, I liked the invisible jet only because it was cute and it was referencing the TV show. I laughed out loud in the theater.
And the comics.
Yeah, and the comics. So I thought it was absolutely cute. I can't believe they were actually doing the invisible jet in the Wonder Woman movie nowadays. So I thought it was cute for that reason alone. But, as far as making it invisible... So, if this movie was allowed to breathe and it was, had one character cut, wouldn't it be so cute to have, just peppered throughout the movie, her practicing making the cup disappear, and then finally it works. And then you get that funny scene. It's like, where's my cup? Like, she only had one cup and she needs coffee and she can't, so we should at least have established that she had this ability, but no, she's all like, my father,
who is Zeus, by the way, made me out of clay, right?
Yeah. So it's like, oh god, I see. It was cute because it was an invisible jet, but the build up to it, there was no build up. It was like, oh, by the way, I can make things invisible
and fireworks.
And you can apparently fly through fireworks. And how did she?
You actually can.
And how did she not? Oh, can you?
Oh.
Yeah, I actually looked it up. You can. It's totally harmless to an airplane, apparently.
Huh. I'm sorry, if there are fireworks going off next to my plane, I'd be shitting a brick. But that's another episode.
That's so hilarious. It can handle fireworks, but not small birds.
Yeah,
Whatever.
I've that's a fun fact. I did not know that.
Interesting.
But I forgot where I was going with that. Oh, radar. So they wait until they're on the plane stealing it before she thought it through? Like, oh, that's right. They're going to track us. Like, how did
I like
you not
that moment though.
But how did you not think of it? Like, I don't know.
I felt there was
me.
Sorry, go ahead.
Oh no, I just felt like that line was improv. Like, well, shit, Diana.
I love that. Like, Chris Pine is good with what he's given. Like, it didn't make sense, but that was funny. Like, it got a laugh out of me.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, I thought the invisible jet was cute, but like, again, like I said, just build up to it. It's, I don't know. This movie just had Wonder Woman with these powers I didn't know she had. Like
teleporting, because they go from Washington to Egypt and then back in like a day, less than a day, because she has to meet Barbara at the Mayan alleyway.
And it's complete, that logic is completely thrown out the window. It's just thrown out by a throwaway line from Barbara saying, "Oh, that was quick," I'm like, okay, whatever. But yeah, she can fly. She can make things invisible. She can do all that.
Swing on lightning.
Yeah,
which I think she does in the comics.
I thought that was really cool. I like
the visual. Yeah.
Yeah. I'll save that for my closing thoughts.
Speaking of, is there anything else you guys need to say about Steve Trevor before our final thoughts?
Yes. We should have had the closure from his character. How do I say that? Okay, they didn't get to say goodbye in the first movie. She remembered, I guess, what he said. She read his lips or whatever, but there was no goodbye, I love you moment. This sequel was the perfect opportunity for these characters to actually say goodbye, to say I love you, but it's just so uneventful. She turns away and around the corner you just hear, "I'll always love you, Diana, no matter where I'm at." I'm all like, well, that's so disconnected. There was no like, I feel we needed, like, I can feel maybe they were like doing a whole dramatic thing where like, like he's already dead, so there's nothing to say really. But I feel this movie would have really benefited from a scene. Imagine that. So I told Richie during this, do a reverse of how we were introduced to Steve Trevor in this movie. Do the 360. So she says, start on Wonder Woman, tearfully looking into his eyes, and he says, "I renounce my wish." And then we do the 360. We turn around and we see Trevor. It's still Chris Pine. We go around Steve Trevor. Then it comes back, and now it's the other guy, and he's confused, and it's all like, and then that causes Diana to do her dramatic runoff, which I would have totally bought if it were that. Instead, she just rips away, and he's all like, "By the way, I love you."
Well, I mean, I get their instinct on that. Yeah. Like, it's supposed to be she's ripping herself apart to do her duty, right? She can't say goodbye. She's just going to leave and accept her fate. But again, like, the emotional pool wasn't there, and I feel like that's why it fails.
Here's what I would say. If they had done the way you described Harrison, it would have then given his character purpose to be in the film, because it would have given her the opportunity to have the closure that she was robbed of. And then it would have created the ability for her to get over the mourning, because because if you don't have that ability to say goodbye to somebody right before they die. Yeah. Once she has that closure, then she goes back to being the old Diana that she was maybe before his death in the first film. Then that would have made sense to me. But yeah, I think basically they just literally, to me it was just literally a repeat of the exact same ending in the first one.
Because if they went my route and they did the whole like goodbye closure thing, then suddenly this isn't a movie about lies. It is about letting go, which I think is a far stronger theme than I can't even tell you.
You can't have everything you want ever.
Yeah, basically,
the theme is you can't have what you want. Like, sometimes I guess you can't have everything.
I don't know what it is. I feel the opening Themyscira game scene should have set that up. Like, okay, what did I get from this opening? It's bad to take shortcuts.
It's bad to cheat.
I guess it's you can't cheat at life, right? You can't cheat. You can't get your love back and also, continue on as normal, I guess. Like, and it's a lie or it's a cheat that he came back. It wasn't like he came back naturally.
I don't think they know what they were trying to portray.
It's confusing,
I think they don't know what. And I think it's a lot of things that they're like, just like mold this into this little real ugly thing that we're calling a movie.
So yeah, keep, make the goodbye between Diana and Steve more with a punch. because they just literally went into some alleyway while chaos was unfolding. Have it be in the middle of the street. Have them both collapse in the middle of the street around this chaos. That 360 shot would be totally visual with all this chaos happening around them, you know? And I feel it would have made the whole the flying away scene much more effective. And, you know, don't use sunshine. Make a more dramatic rendition of Steve's theme or Wonder Woman's theme. Or if it is a whole story is about letting go and moving on, then transition from Steve's theme to the Wonder Woman theme, and she's becoming her own woman and finding a new way to travel. I don't know. Again, as Richard said before, this is a sequel of wasted opportunities. They handled it very poorly. Yeah, and that's all I got. That's the last thing I wanted to say about Steve Trevor, who I love as a character, but really should not have been in this movie.
Yeah. Well, I think that brings us to final thoughts, closing thoughts. It's been quite a lengthy episode. I think we've let out as all the things we wanted to let out, but I'm sure we can keep talking forever.
Yes. I can sleep soundly knowing that all of this is off my chest.
So let's start with Richard.
And just final thoughts, not ratings, right?
No, just final thoughts.
Okay. So final thoughts. I am no better after this movie than I was before this movie. And I think ultimately that is the problem with this film. It literally serves zero purpose. In MCU, even the worst film has a purpose for the overall story, you know, that we're trying to get to. The first Wonder Woman film connected obviously to Justice League. It had the Bruce Wayne tie-in. It kind of told her backstory. If this film had somehow had a meaning, like maybe she was telling this story of 1984 to someone else, who knows, because she's just randomly narrating in the beginning of the film. In the first one, she's obviously narrating it responding to Bruce Wayne, or I guess thinking about it, that what Bruce Wayne had sent her. But in this film, it's just, oh, here's a random story about Wonder Woman, you know? And it serves no purpose. And that's how the whole film plays out. Literally everything serves no purpose, because there's no consequences for the bad guys at the very end. The whole Steve Trevor, all the montages with Steve Trevor is not moving towards the ending of the film, I feel. I mean, I feel like it's just there. And quite honestly, like, the biggest problem I have with this film is that I feel like everyone was like, oh, this was the film we needed for 2020. I disagree. The last thing we needed was a film where people couldn't wish for things and couldn't hope for something different for themselves and wish that there was something else going on. I feel like this movie took the hope and the dream out of everything. And also I feel like the fact that there was no good overcoming evil, I feel like that's kind of the feeling we really needed at the end of 2020 was the idea that we can overcome some great obstacle, some great thing, and come out better on the end or on the other side. And I feel like most superhero movies, that's what they are able to accomplish. And I feel like with this film, it failed miserably. So honestly, this is not the film we needed for 2020, and I did not escape at all in this film at all.
And missed opportunity with kind of defeating evil, because it was obvious that Max Lord was Donald Trump, and of course we literally defeated that evil with this election. So,
but yet they didn't portray him as evil, which I thought was contradictory.
Yeah. To what you said about, like, it has no point. Like, there's really no difference between, after this, what happens in this movie does not affect Justice League or anything later, right? Feels like an episode of a TV show, right? Yeah. Bad decision, but to me, that's what it's telling me. It was like, it's the middle entry of much more, all these other stories they want to tell. But this one doesn't mean a whole lot, right?
Yeah. It's not like a filler episode, but it's like that. It's like 2 episodes before the finale. It's like important, but like doesn't really do much because we want to see the finale.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah.
Yeah, exactly. It's just to introduce some characters we know from the comics. Cheetah, again, arch villain, number one villain for her in the comics. So, but yeah, nothing else happens. Steve, whatever happens with Steve, out the window, right? Mm-hmm. He's not even going to remember it if they save him from the first movie when he comes back in the next one.
The first trailer for Wonder Woman set up a lot of expectations for me, and a lot of those expectations weren't met. For instance, the part where she reveals herself in the armor, I felt for some reason that was going to be earned. Like she had to do something to earn that armor. I thought like her lassoing thunder was going to be a thing, a new power she was going to learn, A lot of hope was in that trailer. And I think a lot of it had to do with the coronavirus. There was a lot of expectations to that. And the first thought after I got out of this movie was, I can't believe I braved a pandemic to watch this theatrically twice. Yeah. But I did. And I watched it 3 more times after. This is a big disappointment. I mean, the thing about it, though, is that it's not the worst DC movie. It's not even the worst movie ever made. But when it's coming hot off the heels of the fantastic Wonder Woman entry, it falls flat in every way. No, the story is confusing. Patty can direct the hell out of a script because she didn't write Wonder Woman 1, but she wrote Wonder Woman 2. And she wrote Monster and directed it, so she can write a good script, but I just don't think she can write a good superhero movie. So, for God's sakes, whoever does Wonder Woman 3, let Patty direct it, sure, but don't let her write it. That's about it, really.
I will say Patty Jenkins, and this is a mistake a lot of times I see, isn't well versed in the comics, right? She knew the TV show, but I don't feel like she did her research. Like, I don't think she took the time to find what people love about the character, right? Mm-hmm. The first one she didn't write it. So I feel like that person knew, like, they pulled from different things in the comics to, I mean, it was like the Spark Notes version, but they at least did some research. In this one, I felt like they did the opposite of everything that happened with Wonder Woman in the 80s in the comic, right? Like, I don't know what she was trying to do, but I think it was a mistake to have her write it. And I agree, she can direct the hell out of certain things, but she just doesn't know the character. Mm-hmm. And
because it's so different from Wonder Woman 1 to Wonder Woman now,
Yeah, and it's Wonder Woman, Diana Warrior Princess, right? Mm-hmm. She's the whole point, and that's cool about her, is that she brings down the hammer of justice, right? I don't know. And in this movie, she was just so, like,
mopey.
My love, yeah, mopey. That being said, I don't think it's the worst DC movie, and I don't think it's the worst movie. Am I going to watch it again anytime soon? No, it's way too fucking long, right? But I don't hate it, and I enjoyed when I watched. The entertainment I got was purely, like, visual, too. I liked how it looked, right? I liked some of the music tracks. I liked Cheetah.
Pretty images.
Pretty images, right? I love a villain who dresses sassy and fashiony, right? Mm-hmm. For no fucking reason. Suddenly she knows how to pick out an outfit. But I like it. It looks cool. That's the gay in me, right? It just, whatever. My dad's the same. And I will say my dad is an insane Wonder Woman fan. Read the comics. Huge fan of the TV show. Like, he has every episode memorized. Linda Carter is his hero. And I talked to him today because I was like, I'm going to review this movie. I know you're a huge fan and you know a hell of a lot. Like, what are your true thoughts when you saw it? And this is coming from someone who is just an obsessed fan. I will say I will watch Jurassic Park 3. It's fine, but I know it's a shitty movie, right? He said, as a true Wonder Woman fan, he loved the movie. because he loved, and he said the TV show. He was like, it reminded me of being young and watching that TV show on TV, and it gave him the thrill. It just nostalgia for him, right? But I don't think a lot of people know the TV show. A lot of people who are going out to watch superhero movies, right, don't have that connection. So I believe he truly loved it, but I don't think that speaks for the audience it's trying to aim for, right?
I will say this too. Comic books. I know nothing about anything comic book related. And that goes for Marvel and DC. My first iteration of these characters are their movies. So, of course, I was able to tell the difference between Adam West Batman, Michael Keaton Batman, and for all, rest in peace, but, the Joel Schumacher Batmans. I was able to differentiate between all of those people and the Nolan Batmans and what even Ben Affleck was doing. But yeah, my first idea of these superheroes are their movies. So, it's difficult as always to not talk about Marvel. But Iron Man, when I first saw it in 2008, that was Iron Man to me. And from what I can tell after so many years, 12 years now, 13 years, what is that? 8, 9, 10, 13 years of Marvel movies. Robert Downey Jr. was Tony Stark. That was a very comic book accurate adaptation, correct? I get
from what I understand.
Yeah, and I can't really say that much about DC. It's funny because there are more iterations of DC characters than Marvel characters. So, and honestly, for me, that's always ever going to be Batman. We know who Batman is. So Wonder Woman, I didn't think much about it going into the first movie. I thought it was like, okay, Wonder Woman, I just knew her from the TV show and then the DC movies. And so when I was going into the whole, I know that the only good thing about the DCEU universe, the DCEU movies, was Wonder Woman. I will never forget the audience reaction from when we first see her, defend Batman in Batman vs. Superman. Such an iconic, powerful moment. But now it means nothing with 1984.
And it's not fair to ask the audiences to know everything about the comic, right?
It's like, not.
You shouldn't have to know the comics to understand what's happening in the movie.
Yeah. And honestly, it should be true to its source material. So, regardless, I should be able to go see, when I go see a Marvel film, I know that they probably, obviously they adjust some storylines and stuff because, you can't tell the entire comic book, universe in a film. But for the most part, you're seeing accurate portrayals of the characters, and you're entrusting that the people making that content are being true to the source material. That's where DC fails. And if, my only real connection to Wonder Woman is the first film, and I feel that they totally went in an opposite direction in the second film. So to me, they established who Wonder Woman was in the little part that she was in not Justice League, in Batman vs. Superman. I haven't seen Justice League yet. I'm waiting for the Snyder Cut. And then obviously Wonder Woman. That's who she is. And then when I saw this movie, I was like, what the hell did they do?
Who the hell is this woman?
Exactly.
Who the hell is this rapist?
But I do respect the opinion of someone. I get that, the nostalgia. Kind of like with your Jurassic 3, it's the worst. I think you said it's one of the worst of the Jurassics, but you still appreciate it. You still appreciate it because of you're such a huge Jurassic fan. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
I'm a Jurassic fan, and to me, it's the shittiest. It's a shitty movie. So yeah.
You see, and I'm the opposite from Toby. I won't ever address or willingly rewatch again from Dusk Till Dawn 2 or 3.
We never end up doing that, huh?
Nope,
Stay true to your word.
So glad we did it. But honestly, that's it. That's all I got for Wonder Woman. I feel it's just a weight off my shoulders now. I don't ever want to talk about it ever again. At least until
drunk commentary a year from now.
Oh my goodness. Or the Final Gaze discuss Justice League, the Snyder Cut.
I fucking hate. Oh, maybe, but I hate Justice League. I'll show my hand, and I don't like Batman versus Superman except for Wonder Woman's one scene, the big scene.
I'm gonna give Snyder Cut a chance because Harrison has, I hope this isn't another one of those where you done did me a Toby and talked this thing up, and then it ends up being like, not as good as.
Everything about the Snyder Cut that is releasing is, I'm not saying that it's good. I'm saying that it's super special. Never has there ever been a situation like this where fan outcry has caused studios to rethink a decision. A 4-hour Justice League cut thought to be lost? What the fuck is that?
Yeah.
I'm intrigued.
I'll give it a chance.
And I think, honestly, Richie, I think you do need to watch Joss Whedon's Justice League. Just so you have something to compare it to.
So shitty.
So...
I mean, is it any worse than the Suicide Squad? Because Danny and I were just like, what the hell? Like, I wish
I think it does Wonder Woman worse.
Yeah.
Oh, wait,
I think it does Wonder Woman really bad in Justice
Oh,
League.
yeah. She gets
She gets the boob jokes.
Yeah,
right?
she gets pushed down to sex jokes, basically.
Wow.
Yeah.
And there's this scene where Aquaman is sitting on the lasso of truth, and he calls Wonder Woman beautiful very creepily. It's like, we're gonna die, but I'm feeling really horny right now, and I think you're beautiful.
Yeah.
So
You should watch it.
I'll do so I'll watch the Justice Leagues just for the sake of it, and then this new Batman that's coming out with Robert Pattinson, because it's not connected to the DCEU or whatever you want to call it. But beyond that, I'll be honest with you, any more works done by the DCEU, I'm probably not going to, at least I'm not going to waste my money on. If it's like free on a streaming service years later after its release, I may watch it with Danny, but I don't think I'll ever pay for another DCEU movie again, because literally I've been let down every single time with the exception of Wonder Woman.
Yeah, the future of DCU is just so bizarre. I don't know what the fuck is going on over there. They better get their shit together. Because it is falling apart. And if it's falling apart, just cancel everything. And just reboot it. Don't...
Give it like 5 or 10 years. Like,
yeah.
Yeah.
Because here's my thing.
Just no.
if Marvel... Here's the thing, because they've tried Fantastic Four twice now, right? If Marvel is able to revive Fantastic Four and bring them into the MCU and have it be a quality film or quality characters, even if they don't get their own film, if they're just side characters, I'm crowning MCU the winner of the fight between the MCU and DC.
I think it's already the winner.
I'm
honestly.
sorry. Yeah, DCEU lost that battle with Man of Steel.
But I mean, if they're in my eyes, they can do no wrong if they can bring the Fantastic Four in an entertaining way, because it's failed. Yeah. It's failed twice now. So yeah. But that's another podcast. That's another episode.
What should our ratings be?
I have faith in Kevin Feige. I don't have faith in Patty Jenkins.
I think it's something Hamada is in charge of DC now.
Oh.
He just got appointed as like the head. I think they need a Kevin Feige, right? Someone to lead and keep the continuity, and they haven't had that. It's been a different creative person every time. Now there's this guy Hamada, who apparently is bad news because he's the one who got Ray Fisher fired.
Already off to a bad start.
So, I mean, maybe that'll help having one person in charge of the creative side, but I've already heard he's butting heads with Patty Jenkins. So.
Well, DCEU...
Good luck.
Yeah, that's all I gotta say. Well, I'll watch your movies, but yeah, this is the end. This is the death rattle. How many ghost rapes?
Yes. So, Richard... How many ghost rapes would you give Wonder Woman 1984?
I mean, I've said all there is to say. I mean, I think all of the film rating websites speak for themselves. They're in the good F category. I mean, Rotten Tomatoes has it at a strong 59%. To me, that's an F. I honestly, it got like a smidgen better watching it second time around. And that was with Harrison hand-holding me through parts that we were really trying to look for positives for you, Toby.
We tried.
So we tried. We were like, we gotta find something for Toby.
And I appreciate that.
We really cared. I really wanted to be impartial. I would give it 2 ghost rapes. I would give it 2 ghost rapes.
Harrison?
I'm going to give it 2.5 ghost rapes out of 5. No reason.
I do want to say, I like that you both came with reasons, right? You didn't just say this is a piece of shit. You gave
sucks.
Yeah, like you gave very valid reasons for your ratings. And I think that's great. And I liked the conversation. I think it made it easier. I think all of us might have felt like maybe it was going to be like a hateful, you're wrong, this sucks, blah, 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 blah. And I'm glad that it was, I think, a very legit review. So thank you for that.
Yeah, honestly, when you said you liked it, I'm all like, oh no. And then when I found out we were going to be doing a conversation like this, I was going to be like, it's just going to be us shooting down Toby left and right. Like, you're stupid, it's wrong, you're wrong. Everything about movies that you like is wrong. Jurassic Park fucking sucks. But I'm glad. I knew it wasn't going to be that, but there was just something in the back of my head that was like, well.
Harrison even came with a peace offering. He's wearing a Jurassic Park shirt to show his,
say,
his love for you.
It's faded. That's how much I wear it.
Appropriate moment, but it's great, and thank you for that. I'm going to give this movie 3.
I called it.
Ghost rapes. It's kind of right in the middle, right? Like, I understand all the negativity, and I feel like I've agreed with a lot of your guys' points of view, but I don't have the hate for it that I feel like people immediately, like, it was hate. It was like, immediately, this sucks. And people weren't giving reasons why. They were just saying, this is a piece of shit.
I think they were let down.
Like
honestly.
that shit poster on my Godzilla post.
Yeah, fuck him. I don't even want to talk about that.
I think they feel wronged. They
were let down.
Yeah.
And during a time, like you said, we needed a movie to uplift us, right? Everyone was looking to this movie to be, this is going to, like, reinvigorate theaters, and it's also going to make us feel good and accomplished, and we fought evil, right? And it just wasn't that. And at the end of 2020, that kind of letdown was very damning to this movie. Mm-hmm. And so I'm giving it a 3 because I still like Cheetah. Right, I liked some of their performances. I thought visually there was some cool stuff in there, and I wasn't miserable watching it. I saw it twice, and the second time, really the only thing I didn't like was that it's too long. It's way too long. But yeah, I think 3 for me is a fair. But I recognize all the negativity and all the. I think a lot of those reasons are valid to why it's not a good movie. When I said I liked it, it's more like I enjoyed it when I was watching it. But I'm not gonna write home about this movie or recommend it to all these people.
I'm pretty sure we made a hookup analogy on an episode a long time ago. Like, it wasn't the best sex, but it was,
Yeah, it was sex.
I came there to do what I did.
I got off, but it was okay, right? Yeah. There you go. That's a good one. Go.
And I should say, well, actually, you know what? Never mind. I was about to say I didn't hate it, but yeah, no, I hated just the moments with the music. Movie-wise, I was just let down, and no one wants to be let down.
Yeah.
Not after sex, no.
Exactly.
Quick question. Do you guys think it would have done as well? So originally they were pushing her to try to release it the end of 2019. And then it moved to June, then August, then October. Do you guys feel that it would have been received better pre-pandemic?
Yes.
No.
In my mind, without a doubt, yes. I feel like the pandemic has really skewed some views, especially when it comes to television and movies. One, we're all seeing great television on Netflix. The Crown, there's so many good TV shows that we've all been stuck at home watching, and then to go to something that's mediocre
and actually have to make an effort to go. Well, some of us, yeah,
to get it or to go see it in theaters during a very scary time. But I think if the times were normal and it came out, I think people would shit talk it for sure, like they do Batman v Superman and Justice League. But I don't think it would be so maligned, and I do think it would have made a lot of fucking money. But that's just what I think.
Yeah, but I don't know. That depends. Like, I don't feel that they altered anything in the time it was being delayed. If they had altered something, maybe, but this was the same film that was going to be coming out in 2019 in June last year. Mm-hmm. So I really don't think it would have mattered. More people would have seen it, and therefore more people would have been more dissatisfied with it. But I don't think it would have altered the quality of the movie.
It wouldn't alter the quality of the movie, but I think it would have altered people's points of view of the movie. In my personal opinion, most people, again, I'd say like 90% of the population watch this on their TV screen or their laptops, right? That's just not going to give you the thrill. There's something different about going to a big blockbuster superhero movie, packed theaters. You get that energy. You get like everyone is in a good mood, whether it's a bad movie or not. I mean, I went to go see Iron Man 2, right, in theaters. Everyone fucking loved, cheered it, but that's like one of the most maligned Marvel movies. Same with Thor: The Dark World. So,
but also remember, we went to a sold-out crowd opening night, Thursday, 7 p.m. IMAX Rise of Skywalker. And I gotta say that I felt the same way about Wonder Woman 1989, the same way I feel about Rise of Skywalker.
Yeah, to me, this is Last Jedi or Rise of Skywalker.
I like Last Jedi.
I liked Last Jedi too. I can see the faults with it.
And again, it's one of those situations where they made a choice that's different, right? So they subverted what people wanted, and it backfired on them.
Mm-hmm.
I should say that this episode is now officially longer than the Wonder Woman 1984 movie because mine just ended.
I'm sorry, guys. I just had so much to say.
For the record, you guys have added now officially a third person, so it's going to take longer to get through these.
Yeah.
And I didn't even talk that much, so.
But you gave good points when you did, so.
Well, thank you.
Well, let's close out this episode. Toby, what are we covering next week?
Next week, that is a good question. We're covering
Pumpkinhead.
Next week, we're covering one of Harrison's favorite horror movies, Pumpkinhead. Pumpkinhead, starring what's his face?
Lance Henriksen.
And so
that's all I know from the movie. Directed by Stan Winston.
That's what I know mostly is Stan Winston, who made the animatronics for Jurassic Park and Alien and a bunch of other things.
I know nothing about Pumpkinhead. I'm not going to research. I'm going to come into this as a virgin. I'm going to come
no trailer.
Yeah, and don't set up expectations either. This is going to be total Richard horror virgin.
Yeah.
Yes. And again, I'll have the honor of showing you that next Sunday. So.
Well. Where can you find us, Harrison?
Yes. Well, thanks for listening to us discuss Wonder Woman 1984. We hope you've enjoyed this episode. We're going to be doing these once a week, and it's not always going to be a movie. It could be a topic, or it could be a movie. I don't know. It might be
once a month, right?
Once a month.
Huh?
Once a month, right?
What did I say?
Once a week. I don't think we have the strength.
Say once a week? Oh, no, yeah, I'm sorry. Once a month. We're going to be doing episodes like these once a month, so... the next one will be at the end of February, which, I don't know, we don't know what we're going to talk about yet. So, but yeah, you can find us on all the social medias. We're on Facebook, we're on Instagram, we're on Twitter. We are posting on all three as best as we can. So please follow us, retweet us, repost us, all the works. We need followers, and we would love it if you saw the artwork we're posting. We're finding some really awesome stuff.
Good picks, yeah, with the artwork you're finding.
Yeah, because right now we're on the week of Insidious, and there's a lot of great stuff from that. So the creepiest one is coming up on Wednesday, and you'll see what that's all about. You can also listen to us we are on Spotify, we are on Apple Podcasts, we are on Podbean, and we are also on YouTube. Watch this three-way video, and not the sexy kind, unfortunately, on YouTube. We have no website, and... yeah, join us next week as we discuss Pumpkinhead. Until then, my name is Harrison.
My name's Richard.
And I'm Toby.
And we are the Final Gaze. My name is Harrison.
And I'm Toby.
Oh, what's right?
I don't know.
Show me Jack Daniels.
Do you guys want me to be in the middle of the threesome, or do you want to be at the?
Yeah, okay.
We'll put you in the middle. Okay, we'll try that again.
I love to be in the middle.